Clap for Jesus.
Waza
Do your job.
Come. Give Jesus a clap.
You're seeing a legend.
Please don't give a number.
Episode 1.
Please. You don't even know.
Episode 1.
Okay.
Rolling.
You've been told it's episode 1.
Guys, clap. You clap the normal way, like a professional. Give us the slate now.
So mthengela leli plangu elincane ke leli.
Likhona.
Athi
Akalithandi man.
uthanda izandla.
Okay.
Ngithanda izandla.
The Penuel Show,
Yeah.
episode 68, take 1, slate 1.
But episode 68 is one that's playing now today.
As we speak.
67 is playing today.
It's Ed.
This one is on actually 6.
He's on
Ha
time.
ha. Based on what? Based on what?
Let's get
Koni favoritism la.
Yeah, why we skip?
Let me hit. My apologies. Ntate, Baba, Nkosi yami, my lord. They used to call you Bishop. I believe you're one of the kings of Africa that we have today. Maponga J, Joshua Maponga. Welcome to the Penuel Show officially. And I need to let you know, even though I wasn't planning to,
A
that
beautiful setup, by the way.
Thank you.
I'll have missed my media flavor. This is nice.
Thank you. No, it's all credit to the production crew. Your episode or your sit down for me has been my most anticipated. From when Utebza and I started the Penuel Show, my number one guest has always been you. And my hope was that we were going to sit sooner than now. And my hope was that we were going to sit many, many times. Because you are a well that is never empty, always being refilled. And it is important that those of us with smaller nyana platforms drag you to these platforms so that you can share. And we spoke about water earlier. And water as many minds as possible as a farmer, as the head farmer of thought. So welcome to the Penuel Show, and I'm honored to sit with you.
Okay, no, we have traveled the journey, and it's always a joy to, as geese do it when they are flying for thousands of kilometers across the skies to the Himalayas, the flamingos, thousands of kilometers to the Karus and what. It takes time. But the whole idea of flying together, one goes in front, the other one goes to the back. And when one wing, some wings get tired, then someone else goes in front and cuts the wind. So I've a proverb now that offends many people, where I say I'm the needle and you are the thread.
Hey.
And I'm poking through spaces. But after I'm gone, it is a thread that holds the cloth together. And the needle has been put on the side.
You've got a new look. If you can please tell us about your Moses, Jesus, Solomon, Abraham.
It's all in one. Without saying much, there is something we're cooking. The official statements will come, I think, shortly. But there's a movie script that I have scripted.
Yes.
And I'm new in the space, so I wrote a storyline, then got a production team around it. And I want to consolidate lots of the teachings that I've been saying and now move them over to the silver screen for the international and world community and to have an opportunity to change the narrative. So yeah, it's my media studio film look,
No, we're looking forward to it.
Oh,
I prepared a few questions for you that I think are important, but I'm going to skip all those questions and I want to ask for specific things before I get to the questions. If you answer those questions, then I won't get back to them. But before I get to hit, I'm going to start. What does God look like?
He looks like you. And actually, the first problem we have with this God concept, God means nothing. The concept of God simply, if you can check the dictionary definition, it simply means you admit to something that is supernatural. But it has no name. So until you give me the name of the God you're talking about, to say I believe in God, simply say I admit. It's like ngihlangane nendoda.
Yeah.
But ubani indoda. Ishophela ukuthi ubani hayi ngumZulu. Ukabani hayi ngumlotsha. Which one amongst them lochas?
Yeah.
Upenuel. Uyabona ke manje. Uba specific.
Yeah.
So God in the concept of language simply means that which is supernatural. But the problem is, did God create men or men are creating gods? Because if we are supposed to use the biblical passage, which much of our African community is hinged on, where God says, let's make man in our own image, in our own likeness. Oh, wow, beautiful. So what are you expecting? God is going to pull his beard, he's going to pull his ears, he's going to plug himself, and then makes man. Oh, but no. Then he takes soil, he takes water, and he takes air, fuses them, and he says, there is a human being. In other words, there is something in the soil, something in the water, something in the air. That is in God. And therefore, when you look at a human being, you're actually looking at the God himself in person. Because if God wanted us to make us as he is, then we should not have been here. We should be some spirits floating in mid-air somewhere else. So the physical nature of God is man.
So therefore, if there is a God, we are God, or we are the tangible representation.
We are the evidence of the unseen.
You said something, and you studied theology, which makes you an expert in the field of religious studies. You said in our image. Is that what the scripture says? In our image?
Let's make him.
Or in my image?
Let's make man in our image. He makes it plural.
Who is the plural? Is God not a singular?
No, he's talking to his wife. He's talking to his wife. Because in context of theology, without necessarily getting myself entangled in dogmatics, in the context of theology, this is happening on the 6th day after creation. So what do we have? We have land, we have trees, we have seas, we have all the animals that are there. And then God said, let us make man. So translation number 1, which is the most popular one, God is talking to the other 2 to make it the Trinity. But the Bible does not mention the Trinity in that space. In my own context, let us make man in our own image. He is talking to the entire creation that is there. And then God enters his wife, who is the land. That's why the land is still here up today, Mother Africa. He goes into the ground, and from the ground extracts man. That is impregnation, that is delivery, that is literal, to use the biblical sense. So without the land, there could not be any human being. So he is addressing the land. Hence, man is younger than the land. Man is younger than the woman, because the land is the one that gives birth to the man. So the woman that you're talking about is Eve, is actually made out of the bones, and the bones are the structures and the marrows from where we have come from, where the DNA is in, and that is land. Therefore, in my own world, it is a husband and wife creating. So it is God and the land. It is a universe and the land. And therefore, you must make the land pregnant first before you make a woman pregnant. I will always come back there.
You always say that, and it's very important. Make the land pregnant first before you get
That's
to the
what
woman.
God does, so you do the same. Whatever God means. But you cannot expect any production if you're not prepared to put something into it.
While you're speaking about make man in our image, and you're speaking about land, I'm just thinking when you speak about impregnating, when a man decides to impregnate a woman in real time and says, let's make a child in our image, is that a godly act?
It is divine. It is divine, actually.
The creation of life.
The creation of life, every time you hold your balls, you're holding the library of your ancestors. And your cable then connects the past, the present, and the future. Therefore, you are a total continuity of life in yourself. So it's not just about Penuel, but Penuel, who is here, he's a full, consolidated version of where he is coming from.
Correct.
His ancestors, his grandfathers, your looks, body structure, diseases,
I didn't create
sicknesses,
this.
intelligence, and etc. If you go back and if you had a chance of looking back in your own tribe and you compare, you're given 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Impunga is lapha namakhehla kon. Ubungamanga how.
That one looks like me.
Nangu mina. Hence, when we dream about our ancestors and you dream about them, I do that. It happens to me. I don't know about others who are scared of saying it. They pass my mind. They pass my dreams quite often. I have not met them, but hell no, when I see them,
You're like, no, you're mine. I've never seen you.
my immediate grandfather, I know him, so I would be able to identify him.
Yes.
But others that are older than him have appeared, and being an artist, I've been able to wake up in the morning and sketch some of those memories and preserve them in a certain way. But you, as it were, their frustrations, their anger, their intelligence, their royalty, their skills, their diseases, their stress levels, all those things are registered onto the DNA, and then we pass them on. That's why you find a small little boy who has never seen a snake, and they see a snake, and they
It's
flip.
scared.
And another boy, another girl sees a snake and goes to touch it. And then you put the two in the same room and say, what makes the difference? Why is this one scared of a snake yet they've never seen a snake? This one can hold it. It means that this one, in their family line, the trauma of some scared of water.
Yeah.
And the child would scream for water, and another child would jump in the pool and die. Why? In the history of that family, maybe someone drowned, maybe someone almost drowned, and that trauma was raging. We now are dealing with serious psychology.
Yeah.
This is now to understand the human psyche.
Yeah.
That I like this, I don't like this, I don't. No, it has nothing to do with you. It's written in your system as to what inclinations, affinities that you have, certain spaces, certain people. Even our marriages are driven on that. What is it that gets you attracted to this one?
Yeah.
They look like who? Maybe like your mother, maybe like your aunt, maybe like what? There's an element that is in them that immediately when it manifests itself, it connects with who you are.
Yeah.
And that's where relationships actually begin.
Yeah.
And therefore, to understand your history, I think the biggest lesson we've been deprived of is study of self. Because when you understand yourself, you will be able to appreciate yourself and understand you. At a certain level, you're able actually to say, oh, this one is a nice one. But bipolar, psychology. But a person is bipolar. I hope you have not passed those doors when they say you have ADT. But it's not ADT. This is white people trying to interpret Africans. To us, who understand the library of the ancestors, these characteristics manifest themselves in your life. So in one season, Penuel is an artist. In another season, Penuel is a businessman. In another season, Penuel is an activist. In another place, Penuel is a father. And when these emotions, spirits as it were, manifest, the one where they are manifesting needs to understand and when to channel them in and when to channel them out. Because if you are not aware of what is happening to you, you might end up getting disillusioned.
Of course.
Because then this one appears and you don't know, what do I do in this space now? So for me, to understand exactly how your grandfather, how your grandmothers, your aunties and your uncles behaved, and what is it that tickled them. Look at this Imbongi, for example. A man can talk for an hour. Hey, Ubanman, what? Not written. Normal? Is that normal? When you look at those guys, I saw one this last weekend, and I actually looked at him and said, it's impossible.
Yeah.
In 1,000 years, that you can remember such a history with such graphic memory. Wayala, wenza kanje. Wayala, wenza kanje. Wayala, wenza kanje. Wena kabani, wazala ngubani, wenza lokho. And you look at that, no, that's a spiritual connectivity. And the families of those that produce those, they are handed over from generation to generation. Some of us were coming from families of musicians, families of royalties. We can't help ourselves. Once in a while, these things, I play more than 15 music instruments. I'm coming from a great family of musicians, both on my father's side and on my mother's side, both in the royal house and in public life. And when I begin to do these things, I'm not doing them because I've mastered them.
Yeah.
It's something that is intrinsically coming out of my space, and it's coming from a beautiful space. So to be able to tap into, I'll give you a new word today, to tap into ancestral memory, you'll have hit into the hard drive of the supersonic information of your past, your present, and your future. To tap into your ancestral memory, you will have solved the problems of your immediate life. Because in that ancestral memory is your land. In that ancestral memory is your inheritance, are your skills, are your weaknesses, are your strengths, above all, your talents, and most intentionally, even your marriage circles, who must you marry, which totems, which family bloodlines go with you, your diets, it's all there. And you start off with your totem. Nina wakamlochwa, awakaban. You study that thing, you'll be able to actually see. It's coded, by the way. It's coded. Me, for example, Shona, Mukanya, Wiramiti, Yasoshe, Chigaramboko, the one who sits on the stone. Chira Nawanewanji, the one who looks after other people's children. Wanamatanka Gugara, the one who sits first, then he discusses. Wachirwe Mangorana Wapfuribayo, the one who digs iron ore and forges instruments out of that. So I already have blacksmith skills that are in my hands. I just need space. Hence, I always find myself tinkering things and etc. So you study that. You have a coded blueprint of your immediate history. And the only next thing is to walk ancestral spaces where your ancestors have walked. Then you're able to unlock some of those. Because your bloodline, your eyes will remember what they once saw. Your ears would remember the music that they once played. Eating that food, your taste buds is a motherboard that sends information. You must smell the head of a cow being scratched. It resurrects your entire memory. You must walk spaces and your skin will remember. And this whole body is a receptor. It's a phone that picks up signals that are coming from the past. And once you tap into those, you are able actually to begin to find out who you are and what is it that excites you. Why are you excited about this? Why not that? Why do you find it easier to deal with this and not that? And it's not nothing that you crammed and you memorize in the morning. As you meet it, it triggers something in you. And maybe we have not been serious enough to say, but why is our psychology behaving in such a way? So I'm giving you a new word. You're
Ancestral.
going to ancestral memory. And the statement says, tap into your ancestral memory. That's why Jesus, when Matthew, the son of Joseph, the son of Simon, son of Boaz, son of David, son of Abraham, son of Shem, son of Noah, son of Lamech, son of Enos, son of Seth, son of God. Why all these names? And then the Bartimaeus guy comes in. Jesus, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Why addressing me, but you're mentioning my forefather? No, I'm going to David, because David is the same man when Saul had died. He stands up and says, is there anyone from the house of Saul that I can show mercy to? And there was a young boy by the name of Mephibosheth. And he went to the house of his own enemy and picked up that child and sat with him at his table all the days of his life. He showed mercy where he should have shown justice. And when this man wants healing, he does not tap into the personality of Jesus, but he taps into his ancestral memory. Remember what your grandfather did. Can you please do the same? If I was supposed to be a theologian.
You're such a wordsmith, young charmer. And I've got so many points and I know I'm going to miss all of them. Yeah, pulls the coffee up, at least totally break. So you mentioned movies. I'm sorry for going back. You mentioned movies and I want to mention a movie called Mother by one of my favorite directors, Darren Aronofsky, who plays on this concept of a God and a mother who is nature, who is the land, as you said. I think it captures that very beautifully in that concept movie, Mother. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say, you've already jumped because I had these questions I wanted to ask, and I'm still going to hammer in on them because I think that's going to be the most important aspect of our sit down. And those questions are going to be, what must a young African child be doing today? And then we're going to go through, you've mentioned diet. We're going to go through habits. We're going to go through skills. We're going to go through those things. The last point I wanted to make, when you speak about ancestral memory, you spoke about dreams. You are an artist. You are a creator. We have suppressed...
You just called me God.
I have.
You are a creator.
I wanted you to... when I asked, what does God look like? Part of what I was hoping for was for you to say, well, you're looking at
but
God.
You're talking to him.
Boom.
Yeah, you're talking to him.
We suppress children's dreams. Number one, you were speaking about dreams and dreaming about our ancestors and those who came before us. And after suppressing the dreams, we also suppress creation and creativity, where you spoke about waking up in the morning and encouraging children, tell me about your dreams. Draw your dreams and make something you saw in your dream.
In Shona, actually, maybe let me start off from the very crude part, where I want to recommend that school is the worst way of educating children. We actually go to school to be taught how to forget. We go there to empty knowledge and collect information that is very...
School is a distraction model of what you actually should be learning.
And for 25 years, if you are supposed to do creche, primary school, high school, college, 25 years later, you've graduated.
You've been distracted from real education.
And then you come back and then you're applying for a job and then the manager says, we're experienced. And you wonder, for crying out loud, for all these years, what have I been doing? And the institution, which is built by the same people, is fully aware that when you complete here, you must work. But the whole training program does not include that experience.
Correct.
Messes it up. In Shona culture, when we wake up in the morning, we have a word, we say, mangwanani. I hope someone on the footnotes, they'll be able to write this down.
Mangwanani.
Mangwanani. Now, mangwa are words. Anani, who has the words from Nani. In other words, when we sleep, we go to a world, the world of our shadows. And these shadows that we carry are our blankets. During the day, you are taller than your shadow. Only at midday are you the same height. But when you sleep at night, you and your shadow are the same height. Then that shadow hugs you. You move over from the world of the physical into the world of dreams. This is a place when you close your eyes even now, there you are. Empty space. There's no size, shape, depth. It's just the vastness of space. In this space, therefore, we press the body down during rest into a state of unconsciousness, physically. But spiritually, our mind, as it were, our software, is recalibrating, jogging through spaces of fear and frustration, the past, the present, and the future, dealing with the problems that you have and trying to come up with solutions. It is right in that space that dreams, innovations, premonitions, ideas are dropped into our spirit. As it were, the cell phone is being set back to some form of settings where it can actually harvest these ideas. And boom, when you wake up in the morning, Apple. Boom, when you wake up in the morning, Microsoft. Boom, BMW. Boom, Vatu. I'm starting a shoe business. Boom, look. And when every time you go to sleep, others are coming into this world of dreams and visions, and they're receiving inspirations to create new products. But where are your fears?
Yeah.
Managing your dreams. And I think in the Shona culture, then we will sit in the morning, mangwanani.
Who has the words?
Who has the words? Zehope. Then this one says, no, I dreamt this. This one says, I dreamt this. Then we compare the dreams. And the old ladies are there and they're listening. And I grew up in that space. And so the ladies begin to say, oh, there's some visitors coming. Please prepare the chickens. There's nothing that has happened. And the other old lady says, oh, I hear someone will get pregnant here. Grandfather so-and-so is going to come back. This is 4, 5, 6 months sometimes before the event takes place. Or there's a drought that is tempering, that is coming to the space. Because if you harvest all these ideas of people the dreams of people that are in the same space, eating the same food, smelling the same smoke, and etc. By the time they go to bed, when they bring their dreams, you have a consolidated picture of multiple windows of where the spirituality of this family, where it is rotating from. Then those dreams are collected, and then people start off their day. So by killing dreams, it's not just dreams as of an individual dream. I have some aspiration. I want to move the aspirations from an individual selfish space to aspirations at a family level as to how does that dream fit in my space and in the greater community that is around me. For spiritual signals are not only coming only for you. You might just receive a dream that is actually for the entire. I mean, look at what Ngawuse, for example, or Makoseni, look at what Chaminuka in Zimbabwe, look at what Nehanda, look at what Nostradamus, for example, look at what Babu Credo Mutwa. The dreams and visions are no longer just confined.
They're not individual.
To my family. You're now looking at global issues, and the mind is able to move into all those spaces. And therefore, dreams are not just, I slept driving in a car. You may be given enough space, enough diet, enough rest, enough influence, cleanse, nice, beautiful aura. You may be just to be able to supercharge your antennas to beginning to receive good dreams. Because many of us today, sorry to say this, because of the amount of sugar that we're consuming, our dreams remain on our pillows. You wake up in the morning every night. You even hear someone says, I don't dream. There's no one who does not dream. You just don't remember your dreams.
What is ubungoma to you? I'm listening to you speaking about elder women in particular who would sit on the side and then listen and interpret. What is ubungoma in your understanding? Where are we missing it? Because some of these angoma have spoken about the power of dreams, the power of getting visions, the power of listening, and where does that fit in?
You see, when you come to me, you're not going to be getting a common response to these issues. You are coming to an academic space. So allow me to put structure to what even our indigenous healers are struggling to comprehend.
Okay.
They don't comprehend it because they practice it. And to explain it becomes more difficult. So let's go slowly. Ngoma is a drum. Ngoma is a drum, which is made out of a dead tree and a dead ox or a cow. These two are put together. There's a hole at the center. And the present person must hit the skin of the past in the hollow tree of the past, which has been sitting on the ground. And the community can have a dance in the sound of that hole. So the first thing, ngoma, simply means ngoma. These are our mothers. We're back to Mother Nature again. Ngo dash ma ngoma. Now when you come with ubungoma, it is the art of accessing healing through the drum. Isa ngoma, sa ngoma. It is the owner of the drum that does the healing. Umngoma is a student who is learning the art of healing. But at the center of it, sangoma is the one who's able to heal through sound, being able to heal through music, being able to heal through quantum physics. I know your mind can take that, so I'll give you that. So even what we're doing right now, hibungoma lok, siyapula, because through the vibration of our voices and sounds, we're able to send healing to other people. So yes, and I said the other day, I'm a sangoma. In a truest sense that I own a drum. Yes. But also I'm able to create music and heal others through my sound. But unfortunately from the colonial educational system, as usual, the Witchcraft Act would use derogative words to Africans. That even now when you talk about the Sangoma, the Christian cringes under their skin. Ooh. Yeah. Because all we are thinking about is Sangoma are bones and sprinkling of things and slaughtering of chickens, putting people in waters. And by the way, free information. Please, all of you who are into indigenous healing spaces, you do not conduct cleansing ceremonies during the rain season. Just use common sense. The rivers are full. It is not a time to be stepping into rivers. The rivers are cleansing themselves. Avoid going there. They will include you in the cleansing. I read the story the other year. Last year, 24 people were swept away.
Baptized.
Baptizing for what? Stay away.
They drowned.
When a woman is washing herself, stay away from the river. She's cleansing herself.
That is powerful.
Nature is cleaning up all the rubbish that has been accumulating, pulling peppers and stuff we've been throwing on the road and allowing nature to clean. Now you jump in there, you become part of the rubbish. So it needs a bit of intelligence also. Please, 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 as an announcement, stay away from rivers and lakes. Avoid cleansing ceremonies during this season. It is not safe as a safety measure.
I wanna make another note of another movie, Black Panther, where they took certain learnings from African spirituality and African ways of life. When you speak about remembering who you are, they play on this herb, and they call it a herb, which is very important, called vibranium.
Even Simba.
Even with
Simba. Remember who you are. Yeah.
That's correct. And it's almost a psychedelic, or white people, Western culture would call it a psychedelic. But ingesting these herbs that your ancestors ingested so that the main character, T'Challa, could evoke his father who's passed on and the people before him whose totem was the Black Panther. And we were being given clues in that movie that so many people missed while they were busy watching the action. And I hope that people will go and rewatch these movies, because one of the big lines and my big takeouts in this movie is everywhere one of the characters goes, they get asked this one question, Ungubani. And so many of us are like, oh no, I'm Penuel Mlotshwa. No. That is actually not what we're asking. We need something deeper. Who are you? Where are you from? Who are your parents?
If you wanted to mess it up right now, like in a proper philosophical conversation, I'll ask you, what's your name? What's your name?
Penuel.
Penuel who?
Mlotshwa.
Okay, just for the exercise, let me remove the Penuel. You are no longer Penuel. Who are you? You're Mlotshwa. And I remove the mlocho. I say, who are you? And we start unpacking this thing. No, I'm male. No. You cannot be defined by a piece of furniture that hangs between your legs. Who are you? And keep on penning. You might end up coming to this space where you might actually say, I don't have an identity, but I'm here. So those names that you are using is what people are calling you. It's what the culture is telling you. It's what your family is telling you. And how many people have thought that they're mlocho? In the meantime, they're actually Mundwandu.
Yeah.
So, and it takes one moment when your mother looks at you and says, "I Sorumchan, I had kept this information away from you." But does that reduce who you are? So surnames and these surnames and totems are roadmaps, are road signs that are leading you backwards.
Yes.
So that you can see the source weight. Hence the issue of the destruction of the African historical background, giving us surnames, which is a modern phenomenon in the 17th and 18th century, is totally warped because that's a European system.
Correct.
Prior to that, we were using totems because totems lead you to the tribe. And when you get into the tribe, you get into the library. Where, your father, yes. The aunt is this one. Yes, and your role in the royal house is this. And you started over there. The fact that you're called by this totem, you used to do this. You were playing this role in the... Then you're able actually to start penning yourself into your own history. And once you have all that in your hand, you are able to understand. We would not have a Prince Charles if there was no history.
Yes.
There was nothing. Otherwise, the royal house must close down.
Yeah.
But what is it that gives them legitimacy? It's
the history.
I am Charles.
The history of, yeah.
I am the son of. Who is the son of? Who is the son of? Now, if Africans would also have the same lineages, you may just wake up one morning and discover you don't have to bow to anybody. Why? You will finally have discovered who you are. So in these movies, like the Black Panther that you're mentioning, there are various levels of function. And I'm sorry to say this to us as Africans. We have used a colonial definition of life. You work on the five senses: sense of smell, sense of touch, hearing, taste, and feel. And we think, a human being has five senses. But what happened to premonition? What happened to deja vu? What happened to inspiration? Are these not senses? What happened to gut feeling? The contract is right.
But something doesn't feel right.
And you have not done anything.
Yeah.
It is just, you are able to consolidate this information, look and etc. And your mind is quickly going into spaces where it pulls up libraries and, no, I'm not interested, guys. I'm not interested. The deal can go without me. So when we begin to understand this level, so the physical level could be the first level that we are talking about.
Yes.
The second level after this could begin to become the mental, where now the information that we've collected, you're now synthesizing it into scientific formulas of what is it that you want to create. But above the intellectual space, now comes the spiritual space, where you are able to close your eyes and see things that are not there. Even going to sleep is a spiritual experience. This one, I hope you can catch it. Why is it that ladies put on so much makeup in the day, only to end up under the blankets with no makeup and lights are off? If your man cannot see you with his eyes closed, maybe you're wasting your time with your eyes open. Because that which I sleep with is not what I see in the day. That which I sleep with is what I cannot see when the lights are off. So where do relationships really take place? There is interaction at a physical level. But then there's participation at a spiritual level.
Yes.
And in the midst of that darkness, then we form children. And then the understanding how the body functions, the physical body would work with food and etc. The mental would work with information and comparisons, relative terms and conclusive terms, and experience does much for you to be able to concretize ideas. But by the time you get spiritual, you are becoming much lighter. To enhance the body, therefore there's dietary issues. And that's where chemistry begins. Chemet. That is where witchcraft begins. not witchcraft as of bewitching, but it's a question. Which craft is this? So when the white man found a woman after washing her hands in some certain chemical, and they say this child is a bridge, and the woman puts her hands on top of the womb and then calls the totems of this child that is in the womb. And the child turns and faces the door. The white man standing on the door asks, which craft?
Which craft is this?
Which science is this? So in some certain space, you use that big word, psychedelics.
Yes.
Psychedelics is it where, that's where marijuana is. That's where even alcohol is. It's a psychedelic. Why? Because it alters personality.
Mind-altering substance or
So when
whatever.
you use these substances, don't use them recklessly.
Yeah.
Have intentions. Because sometimes you smoke marijuana and you don't have an intention for it. The amount of information that will be downloaded to your mind will cross your wires. Some people have gone mad.
That is
Well,
correct.
they were not ready. All of a sudden, you begin to see things, you begin to hear things, everything is exaggerated, and you don't know what to do in that space. People have jumped on from buildings, ran in front of cars. What they are seeing is scary. Some see monsters.
Yeah.
And where are these monsters? They are all now in your space. You have invited yourself into the spiritual realm, and you do not know where you were going. You thought you were doing entertainment. That's why even alcohol, they call it spirits. Why? Why is it spirit? Because once that poison gets into your body, it's going to move your mind to another level. The question is, what do you do when you're in that level? You want to drive? No, I don't think you can drive because you're no longer seeing clearly.
Yes.
Do you want to have a conversation with your wife? No. You're going to become abusive. What do you want to do? Now you're drunk. You're drunk. You've taken the alcohol. Now you don't know what to do with yourself. Do you want to argue? Do you want to fight? Do you want what? So you have all these altered personalities who tamper with spiritual substances. And when they get there, they don't know what to do. Hence, drinking beer in the African context was a spiritual occasion.
Yes.
Where people would sit around traditionally. Big pot of beer is put there. Every man comes with his reed and puts it into the pot. And we sit and we're confessing. And when all of us move to a certain level of understanding, we are discussing issues that have to do with the community. And we are fixing issues, but we're all at the same pace. Now, yeah, these days, then you get mad alone.
Yes.
So yes, the psychedelics, we have been having them in the African culture. Into Esfana Bontelezi, for example, into Esfana marijuana, for example, both for pain and for spiritual use.
Yes.
If you get to places like Gambia, they still use things like bwiti. You get to places like Peru, they have ayahuascas and flowers, as you mentioned in the Black Panther. And by the way, that's a beautiful one. The Black Panther, it was beautiful because they were actually accurate. They picked up the purple flower.
Yes.
And when you go on your chart of chakras, the purple flower is actually for the pineal gland, which is on the top side. And when you look at my head, I left it today. When you look at that head, the purple on the head represents all the foods that actually enhance the pineal gland part, the yellow, the green for the gut, the red for the blood. And so when you look at our African culture, those Zulu, Ndebele, a piece of beads, people look at them and just go, oh, just beads.
Yes.
But when you look at the science so therefore art and craft is the library for our ancestors. Well, that's where they wrote the books. And he who studies his culture and understands the symbols of his culture, be it in Gabon, those masks of aliens and etc., they are telling you as a community, what kind of spaces have we moved on to. You cannot just tell me someone started creating those things from nowhere. No. There's an experience. Yabo Chikuchitauli, the alien invasions, and how could the Egyptians be able to draw spaceships and what? And you get to Gabon and other places, you still find some of these spaceships as part of the crafts that are there. Where did they get these things from? In Shona, for example, the name for an aeroplane is Ndege, okay? But the name for a rocket is Chitundum Seremser. So where did the Shona people know Chitundum Seremsere, which is actually beyond the aeroplane itself? It is a rocket that shoots into the sky. And this word is already entrenched in our culture, is already telling that as a culture, as a people, we have an experience with these words. The new words like bicycle, you can hear.
Yeah, that comes from
you can hear bicycle.
language, yeah.
But when you come around and you begin to tell me, you begin to hear the language of the people and they're explaining things, then you know that people have had an experience with these things. But psychedelics are a shorter route of fast-tracking yourself into the spiritual realm because physically you're not doing the right things to tap into those spaces.
Please indulge me. I'd like you to simplify.
Sorry for talking long, for explaining.
No, please
I'm
don't,
just getting
don't
carried
apologize
away,
for that.
Yeah.
You're getting carried away by the spirits and there are people that need to hear it. I'd like you to please simplify because there are many young Africans that need what you're about to give now. I would like you unashamedly to please advise what young people should be doing, trying to be as simple and as straightforward as possible. What should young people be eating? What should young people be spending their days doing? What music should they be listening to? What is their cleaning or grooming exercise meant to be? What are they meant to be wearing? Who are they meant to be engaging and indulging with? Where should they be traveling to? What type of leaders should they be
That's too many.
moving towards?
That's too much in one sentence.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I can go through all of it. But let's start with something basic like
Right.
what should we be eating and how should our bathing, cleaning regimens be?
I'm going to use a parable, a wisdom parable. And this part, they're going to rewind it over and over again until it settles in their spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. We all have these gadgets we call cell phones.
Yes.
So while I'm talking about the cell phone, I want you to position yourself as a cell phone
As the cell phone.
for the purpose of the illustration.
Okay.
It might not be exhaustive, but I think it will carry quite a bit of content, which I want to send in a few sentences. There is a cell phone. You get a new cell phone. Immediately when you get it, it says update software. And you wonder, how do I update the software? It's a new phone. No, the date of manufacturing and the date of usage are different. Sometimes you get it a year later or 2 years later. So you need to update the cell phone just so that it can start working. There you get your cell phone, you log in your details. This is your parents logging in their details on you, naming you, you are this and this. Then it starts functioning. And as it is functioning, it starts collecting new apps onto the phone. By the time you're 21, 22, 23, in some certain cases, depending on the number of other apps that you're putting, the phone is starting to slow down. It is overloaded with music, with fashion, with influences, and etc. And you, by the time you want to send a document on WhatsApp, you must wait for 2 minutes just before it can send.
You're
And
right.
then if you are smart enough, then you must get to someone, to the cell phone shop and say, hey, the phone is crashing.
Yeah.
Some certain phones actually literally crash.
Yeah.
Boom, black, or just freezes. Then you get to a nice cell phone shop. That's where we come in, as cell phone operators and as repair kits. You know, do you have critical information on this phone? Yes. Can you back it up for me? Then you put it on an auxiliary storage somewhere there. So take your information that you know and put it somewhere there.
It's important to back it up, the critical information.
You're going to use it as reference in some way when you need it. Take your critical pictures and your videos that you love. The rest from WhatsApp, all those videos, you can delete them.
Yeah.
But whatever you think, my family, my wedding, put it on the side. But the whole idea is take everything that you know, put it away. Then the person says, are you happy now? Yes. Then the gentleman has something that they call resetting the phone to factory settings. Then there's that guy who appears in a small little thing going on your phone, chewing everything,
Abantu baba Android.
chewing everything. Yeah, it was my Android again. And my iPhone is like,
And it's interesting that they have these words like Android, which is an alien, or which is a robot, which when you look at the links of how they come up with some of these
is it
names,
a male?
software,
Is it a
hardware,
male robot or female robot? I saw it the other day. It said Android is a male robot. There's actually a female robot now. Very soon robots will be sleeping with each other. But that's for another day.
That's for another day.
So you back up everything.
And now
you
you're resetting,
you clean
formatting
up the phone. And by the time the phone is given back to you, it does not even know you. It needs a new password.
A new username.
You need to re-enter your emails. You need to re-download your Facebooks and your Twitters and your WhatsApps and etc. and start introducing yourself to yourself. Beautiful as that it may be, then it must have enough power. Beautiful. Then it must have the right SIM card. Beautiful. Then it must have the right signal. And there you are, starting afresh on a new phone.
A rebirth.
The problem we have as young people is not even about what they must drink, what they must eat, and what they must listen to, and all those things. Beautiful as they are. But I don't think the young people actually have understood the beauty of knowing that they are working with clutter. Serious clutter. The reason of their dysfunction is they are running on softwares and apps that are not applicable. They are running on the street life of New York. They are running on the, KFC kind of a diet. They are running on a Paris kind of dressing. They are running on a, the fashion world, the entertainment space. They are big supporters of Manchester and Chelsea. Their whole houses full of T-shirts and etc. And their world of imagination is already populated with these images. And that is their world where they are now surviving in. They already have their selection of drinks. I drink cognac. I drink whiskey. I'm a Savannah person. I'm a Hansa. I'm what. And I listen to this kind of music. I dress up from Gucci. I drive only this. I do this. So you have all this clutter that is around you. So what must they do first? Back up what you want and put it on the corner. Go and read the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Robin Sharma.
And understand sometimes it's important just to close down. Walk back on your ancestral ground. Simplify life. Stop eating too much meat. Cut out sugar from your diet. Reduce milk, sugar, and salt. Go on a pure vegetarian diet for some time. Detox your bodies. Don't eat anything after 4 in the afternoon. Keep your stomach empty. Many of our stomachs, the bigger they become, the more stressed they are. Because there's no rest.
Body's constantly hard at work.
Pumping food,
compressing, crushing.
And remember again, the human body works like that. I wish I was a doctor. I wanted to become a doctor when I was young, but my father pushed me somewhere else. Then all the blood that is in the brain, once there is food,
it all has to go there.
That's why we sleep after we've eaten. Because we can't think. The mind needs a rest because the stomach is busy. But when you go to bed, you want all the blood back in the space. So detox. This whole thing of eating 3 times a day, it's an economic fallacy. 1 meal a day is enough. Reduce your food. Increase your water. And don't just drink water. Eat your water. This eating fruits and vegetables that have lots of water. Because that water from oranges, mangoes, cucumbers, and etc., it's already coming with nutrients that you need. And these nutrients are coming from the ground where your ancestors are buried. Hey, this is getting deeper now. I'm hearing something there. And my totem is Soshe, which are the ants, which dismantle the human bodies and put them into the ground. And when these nutrients go back into the ground, coming back into trees as fruits and vegetables, and we are eating this thing, maybe we don't understand life actually as to what interconnectedness, the ecological intelligence that we need to know why must we eat this and not eat that. So plastic foods, they've never given us value. But real foods, there's a group I belong to right now where doctors and researchers are finding out that we've been lied to all along that there are viruses that are in the world out there. What they find are synthetic bodies that are not able to digest and work with what is being given. Because ultimately, nature itself knows itself.
Yes.
And nature can digest itself. Nature can work with itself. That's why when a young child is born in the village, we put them in a nice big dish. 3-4 months later, we tell the young boy, run to the river. Goes to the river, collects the mud from the corner of the river, sideline, just mud, mishmash, puts it into the dish, go to the kraal, go and collect some cow dung, fresh one, come and put it into the dish, pick up some chicken droppings, put it into the thing, get to the bush, get some few shrubs, put them into the thing, nothing, no witchcraft. Just take the environment which this child will be living in and make that ugly concoction in that thing. We take a young baby and we dump them in that thing for about an hour or 2 hours.
Introducing them to the environment.
Then we clean them up. This child will go and drink that water in that river. He will eat these chickens. He will eat this. And they'll get a fever, of course, because that's vaccination in our African context.
Yes.
You come around and tell me that vaccinate. No, we don't. COVID, we did not need to have masks. We all need to breathe from each other and introduce our bodies to the very virus that says will kill us. That's how we've been coping all along.
That's why Africans were not dying, and Abu Bill Gates was shocked.
Bugger off, man, mask for what? You tell me, I was laughing the other day when COVID started. And my wife is very sensitive with bacteria. I came home and they were all
spray,
this,
sanitize everything.
Then I laughed before I went to bed. I said, "Oh, but so do you have a spray for me also?"
Because I'm also
because it looked like I now needed a diver suit.
Yes.
To cover the whole me and just leave a small. Of course, and I didn't go too far.
Jeez! Wow. Okay. No. Okay, no, we went too far.
It can't work. It can't work. If it is my grandmother, when someone had measles, that measles,
yes,
she would take all of us.
Bring you all together.
No, put in the same blanket. Then all of us must suffer that thing once and for all. And
there are people that do that with flu now. The first child that gets sick must come and engage with all the other kids.
And must we put that big stone, put all that thing, water, and we all cover in that blanket. We have been doing this for the longest of time. So for me, young Africans, maybe our obsession, but I don't blame you. As parents, we send you to Caesar and you came back as Romans. So there's no way we can expect some of this knowledge that we have to make sense to you, because when you look at it, it's hygiene issues. It is no, a child must crawl on the ground and eat the dust.
Yes.
They must drop their food and pick it up and eat it. Correct. And in my culture, when we traveled, my grandmother, we get to a new place, my grandmother would say, touch the ground. I'm telling my body that I'm now in a different space.
Yes.
And my body is already able to and these are beautiful germs, as it were, that included in our narrative as Africans. And to be able to transmit that to the young generation, I think it's wealth and treasure that will preserve us as a people.
I want to reference James Cameron's Avatar when you were speaking about connecting with nature and knowing what to eat. And other people would tell you that our bodies were designed to eat according to season. And one of the mistakes that we make, we want to eat foods that are out of season. Meanwhile, nature is telling us this is what you should be eating. It's winter, I will produce the oranges and the nachos. It is summer, I will produce the bananas, etc. And we kind of go against that. And even our own bodies trying to...
They're shocked.
They're shocked. They don't know what they're doing.
They're shocked. I cannot add more on that. There's nothing purer than that. Hence, the issue of working with the colonial calendar destroys our seasonal calendar.
Yes.
Because our celebrations as Africans, we're not celebrating June month, September for women, for youth, for what? We were celebrating it in seasons.
Yes.
Season of planting, season of winter, then the beginning of the year in September, then etc. And as it were, crops and plants would be doing. And my grandmother, being a genius that she was, at the change of every season, after 3 months, we all had to queue in front of her. She will have a bag of beautifully roasted nuts, and we were not allowed to eat too many nuts then. I only understand now why she did not allow us to do that. So only then, when we knew that we were supposed to collect a handful of nuts, roasted and beautiful, but she'll have a cup in her hand, and she had aloe in her hand, and here's your glass, don't go away, sit there, you drink it. Next one, and then you eat some nuts. For the next 1 day or 2 days, your system will clean itself in a way that you don't understand. But it was smart, because you were saying the food of this season,
it's over.
Then drain the system.
We're getting rid of the old fashion. The season is over. Get rid of this winter clothing now for summer, but we need to get rid of it.
I don't remember any one of us going to sleep in a hospital. Any one of us. And the first call of any disease and sickness is our gut. It is our first brain. So young people, look after yourselves. And if it were possible, don't water too much grass around your houses. Create some gardens. It's nothing much. So go get some spinach, some few tomatoes in your backyard. If you don't have that, get some old trays and your bottles of Coca-Cola, 2 liters that you have finished. Plant some seeds in there, eat some fresh herbs, do some fruit mixing, some spinach and whatever. Make your own concoction. The very same stuff you're buying in Rosebank in Sandton for 25, 35, you can do your own ginger and lemon and garlic and cinnamon and keep your body healthy.
You are a farmer of thought. You believe in indigenous systems. The indigenous systems is something we need to create. You spoke about sending our children to Caesar and them coming back as Romans. And I think this is why I'm asking you, because I identify you as a Caesar. And I'm saying the indigenous African systems that you have, the answers, because one of them, from what I'm hearing, is obviously the cut. Not eating after 4, which is interesting. Not eating 3 meals. That is capitalism and overconsumption. Detoxification, minimalism.
Both here and here. The detoxification must not just be physical.
How do we clean the mind? So in terms of the body, there's fasting, there's intermittent fasting. In terms of the mind, especially because of this gadget here,
Fast.
which has got so much stuff, how do we fast? Do we put it away? Do we go away? Do we do like the Indian gurus and maybe once a week, once a month, go be by yourself? I think in the Jewish community, I've heard some of the people on Saturdays, they switch off their phones and they're unavailable. So do we fast from human beings, from gadgets, from TV?
Do what works for you. But for me, sometimes I could put this thing away for a week or 2 weeks and walk away because I want to hear myself think.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear suggestions. I'm tired of, you wake up in the morning. And by the way, this whole thing of our young ladies also, I've never seen so much nyash in my life.
So much what?
Nyash in my life. I mean, I'm here. I'm a whole bishop here. And I immediately open up my phone, whether it's in TikTok or Instagram, the first thing I see is all this.
Bums!
And I'm saying, to myself, guys, no.
An influx of bums.
But I can't stop. I can't stop them because we're in the same space, as it were. But, and I would feel sometimes maybe I've consumed too much of this. So I would, there's a small little button on the side of your phone, on the top. If you just press that button long enough, those nyash stop playing.
They disappear.
They just disappear for some time. And you put it somewhere there and you go and get your True Pep phone for $150. Which you can just call your wife and your children and find out everything else is fine. So mental diet, that includes your TVs. You can still use your TVs and etc., but go for something natural. Go for natural stuff.
National Geographic, History Channel.
That home thing you're talking about.
Yes.
Learn about other people and etc. So mental rest, emotional rest, make emotional fasts. Make peace with other people. Where you have wronged, sit down one day and find out how many enemies do I have and what have I done to create those enemies, and intentionally take some time, send texts, pay debts. Even if you cannot pay some of those debts, write a message. I am still aware that I owe you. My brother, my sister, be patient with me. I will sort. So that it also, because these things build up stress and tensions.
Correct.
In your system. And while you're there, you're already living on the edge. So mentally you relax, emotionally you relax, physically you relax. Then only at that space can you spiritually now move into a space where you want to interact and align the body totally. And I think all religions, be it Christianity, be it Islam, the whole pilgrimage story to Mecca is not meant for anything else except just to focus the Muslim mind to the black stone and leave everything else behind and walk around as a group and do some chants around the group. For the moment, you are not yourself.
Yes.
You are a group of an army that is fighting the wars of Allah. Allah Akbar. We are all in one space. Christians, go to Rome, go to camp meetings, go to retreats, go to what? Trying to do the Buddhists, go to the mountains.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, the secret is they're trying to quieten the mind. But in the African space, our expression is different. It's the sound of the drum. It is the dance. It is the stomping of the ground. It is the sweat. And imagine when you are stomping on the ground, the stresses that you are letting go of your system. It's not just an exercise, but literally the whole body is beginning to get a vibration around where I am and where I am coming from. And in some certain cases, in the moments of those dances, your kundalinis begin to arise from the lower part into the space of the spirit. And other people have been able to transport themselves into spiritual realms during some of those dances. And the drum must be loud enough so that it blocks away all other patterns of thinking. There's no way you can think when the drum is playing. No, boom, 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 boom. And the singer patient, you're trying to think, where's my rent, where's my what? And your mind is telling you, not now. Not now. And the minds of the community are channeled into a certain common space where in there, when you come back later, you're tired and you can rest and sleep and find that spiritual comfort that we find. So it's different ways.
What is that music? Amapiano? House? Anything with a natural drum?
Again, let's be objective. It is young people of the modern day trying to translate the same song. It is the same music. But I've grown up now not to like too many words in my music.
Okay.
Because then I don't know what you are suggesting, if it is useful for me. So just give me the instruments and step away from the song. Allow me to think what I want. Don't recommend, hey, I want to F you up. Hey, hey, your mother is this. Hey, what, and mean. And then you preaching at me again. I'm coming from the religious space. I think I've heard enough sermons to last me for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Now I want to sit down and think. So select music that allows you to think.
Yes.
That gives you space. Even if you love my piano, I would love to hear. Maybe I must come to back into your what do you call your music, hip hop stuff.
Yes.
And I would love to get into hip hop stuff, and actually do a sing along hip hop, where I just give you the instruments and I say write your own words. So let me hear you, because much of this music, it's me the artist, it's me the Jay-Z, it's me the Tupac, it's me the P. Diddy, telling you what I want to tell you and telling you about my experience, man. 50 cents, I'm telling you, man, I got 50 shots in my body, man. Jesus died only with 3 nails. So maybe we allow your mind to think. And I get discouraged these days. Maybe it's old age also. I sit around many circles and I hear young people fighting with me and say, no, I think. And I look at this young man and I say, oh, finally you think. Okay, tell me what you think. Then as they start talking, I can tell, okay, that's Isaac Newton.
Yes.
That is the church perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an Islamic quotation. No, that's an English William Shakespeare quotation. That's a Plato's thing. That's a Stoic thing. That's Aristotle. And then you say you think. Then after they've told me what they think, then I ask them, so what do you think? What do you think? Because you have not excluded other people from your space to think. So as I said in the last time, I've created the thinking tool, which then can be a navigation tool to allow you to say on the 4 sections that you have on the tool, how are they thinking in the West? How are they thinking in the North? How are they thinking in the East? How must we be thinking in the South? So that gives you a world compass. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying before you do anything, benchmark your thought patterns so that you're able to position yourself. We're in the South, so we have Ubuntu. They're in the North, they're in missionization. They're in the East, they're into spirituality. They're in the West, they're in individuality, me, myself, and I. So while you are thinking, okay, how do people marry here? How do people marry here? How do they marry here? How do they marry here? How do they dress here? How do they dress here? How do they dress here? Who is their God here? Who is their God here? Who is their God here? Who is their God? How come we as Africans here are being forced to do what is happening here and what is happening here? So how do they dress? So you are able to process quite a number of thoughts. And so by the time you say, I think, you might be shocked when someone says, I think, then I'm looking at you and I'm listening to a white man talking. And I think, and I'm hearing a Chinaman talking. And I'm hearing an American talking. And then within those 4, you break them into the 3 pieces each. Then East, you need 3. The past, the present, the future. The past, the present, and the future. The past, the present, and the future. Maybe you must actually design a T-shirt with that.
You must.
No, I'm already giving you an idea. That's inspiration now. It has just arrived now, so you better harvest it and catch it.
I'm stealing all of this for Penuelism.
Yes.
As I build Penuelism structures, I'm going to steal all of these formers of thoughts and indigenous African
you don't have
systems.
to steal them, my brother. There's no one.
Borrow them or
there's no one
be
with
inspired
monopoly
by them.
over truth. There's no monopoly. My name is Marara, which means rubbish, which means manure. So take this manure and plant your seeds on it. You will harvest. I'm giving you ideas I'm giving you a free bag of manure.
Thank you.
Then you ask yourself, how are they doing it in the past? How are they doing it in the present? How are they doing it in the future? How are they? And so when you ask me a question, every question that you ask me, I actually have more than 49 questions that I can ask you back. And 49 possible answers that I can answer. Do I answer you from the East? Do I answer you from the North? Do I answer you from the West? Do I answer you from the South? Do I answer you from the past, from the present, from the future? Past, present, and future. Past, present, and future. And of all those, then I can ask who, when, where, why, and how, the interrogatives. It becomes a complex. You have 49 questions. That's infinite.
I love the fact that you emphasize taking time out to listen to yourself, which is something we don't do. And that's why it's important to dream or use whatever you use to listen to yourself. Is Ubuntu still what we're striving for as Africans? Number 1. Number 2, what is an African?
The Ubuntu concept, unfortunately, has been commercialized. It's sad because it is the modern person trying to compare their Ubuntu with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So in that case, oh, what do you have there? Hey, we have Jesus. Oh, okay. This side, we have Amajos. Okay. What do you have there? Hey, we have angels. This side, so nei tunyo, which is the same Pontifex Maximus mischief that we find the Catholic doing when they are in the pagan Rome and Christianity comes to the doors of Catholicism. And Catholicism, as it were the Roman Empire, the pagan Rome Empire, they cannot deal with this because it is a totally new messianic kind of a concept. So the geniuses of Constantinople, the geniuses of Constantine, looks at this monster and says, the only way we can deal with this monster is to build a bridge. That was the Pontifex Maximus means. Then what do you have there? We have Jesus and Mary. Then what do you have here? We have Isis and what and what. And what do you have there? Then you begin to see actually the fusion of pagan Rome into the Christian. So Christianity as we have it right now is not the original form of the Christianity that we're talking about. It's actually a bridge between paganism and not African paganism, Roman paganism.
Easter and those things.
Can you imagine? Easter is a place where people do orgies and sex and they sleep with each other in April, and then they birth the children up in December, and they sacrifice those children and stuff like that. You want to run around and tell me that Jesus and Easter eggs, where do they fit? Rabbits and etc. in the Bible. Show me one verse where rabbits are having sex in the Bible, and then this must become part of worship. Show me where we have hot cross buns and stuff like that. Tell me where in the Bible do we have Christmas trees and shoes and etc. Except these things were used for cutting people and hanging people and stuff like that. But all those practices, as it were, be it the rosary, be it the making of an image. I laughed so loud yesterday. I even put it on my status. One of the MPs in Tinyani or Tanai, whatever, in Zambia, a whole MP in the opposite party, opposition party, is kneeling on this beautiful pedestal, and is kneeling in front of Mary, white Mary. The white thing and the blue thing, and Mary's looking at her like this, and the guy is praying to this, and the caption on top, this guy says, 2 bags of cement and a bucket of paint.
You're praying to 2 bags of cement and a bucket of paint.
Asking for forgiveness from 2 bags of cement and 1 bucket of paint, and this man is kneeling there, and I'm saying to myself, as Africans, when are we going to wake up and actually discover that when you kneel in front of 2 bags of cement, you are a sinner. But when you go to a tree and you pray from there, you are pagan. And then we hear that Jesus himself went to Golgotha. He went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he went on a stone. Jacob, when he was running away from his brother, he took a stone. And the whole Bible is full of altars where people build up altars and then we undermine our own culture because we have allowed spirituality and religion to be related from there. So Ubuntu, for me, we need to cut off the adulteration of our culture because we are trying to look like. We are trying to compare Holy Spirit to the Holy Spirit. But Ubuntu as a form of life, I am. Not because you are, I am because we are. I am. What I have, we have. My children are your children. When I am not there, watch them for me. When they are coming from school and it's dark, you can walk them home as if they are all your own children. When my cows have eaten in your field, when you harvest, please share another bag with me because your cows ate my mealies. Well, it's this symbiosis of creating a community where people can live together. Where someone is pregnant, hey, go and call grandmother so and so. We have in these villages, we have midwives who would now step over and come and help and etc. And this symbiosis and community coherence. I think we cannot practice Ubuntu when we're in Johannesburg and etc. and we're driving past each other and then Ubuntu, and we put a small little flag and put on a t-shirt. I
have Ubuntu t-shirts so that I can make money for myself.
And during cultural days, then someone just puts a vendor little thing on their shoulder. That's Africa Day. And you're like, come on, guys, maybe there's more to this. Let's not make it cosmetic. I think it's real.
I criticize capitalists or hardcore capitalist ambassadors that they do not practice capitalism within their families and within their circles of loved ones. They only practice capitalism to who they deem strangers, etc. Because when we speak about Ubuntu or some other form of communal living, it's that. But now it's living in a space where we've been pumped full of capitalistic ideas that I must be wealthy alone. First black, wealthiest African, it's individual. It is weirdly on the other side where you see certain black families that are deemed wealthy. You'll find on the whiter families it will be and family. In more of the Indian families, it's and sons. Whereas with us, we've made it's me. I'm wealthy instead of no, my family or my people are wealthy.
But
Ubuntu exists with capitalism.
How good is your money as a wealthy black man when the clinic where your mother and father are collecting their tablets is not fixed and you are drinking bottles of cognac in Sandton? How good is that? Because you're going to be called for a funeral in a few days. So I respect Jacob Zuma much more than I respect the other presidents. And next to Jacob Zuma, I have some respect for Madiba. The rest I can't mention for religious reasons. I mention so why? Because Zuma has got a home. Would rather be spending time arguing as to why did Jacob Zuma build a freeway to Nkandla and create a community and build a home. Madiba built himself a house in Mutata. Whether he built it or other people built it for him, I don't know. My honorable friend, Elder Mbeki, Mutante, and Ramophosa, I don't know in the whole country here whether their wealth can be felt by the communities that are around them. All we hear is Lipalale, 20 million for a buffalo, and all these things that we cannot touch that. So communism, as if rightly put it, the proper communist is at the core of his family, is Ubuntu. He will create something that himself, his wife, and his children, and is building generational wealth for his family. So the capitalists will abuse everybody else, but secure their own circles.
Correct.
And if we could practice capitalism at that, we'll have reached the zenith of what Donald Trump was saying when he says Africa is a hole. Okay, I can't mention
I'll
that.
say it. It's a shithole.
Yeah. And when you say that, Trump is saying America comes first. Bugger everybody else in the world.
Yes.
We don't care about Iran. We don't care about Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and North Korea. My agenda as a president is to make sure that America comes up. America must be great again. That's it. I love Donald Trump in that context.
Yes.
And if Africa would adopt that principle, bugger off the West, bugger the North, bugger the East, Africa comes first. We cascade that down to countries. We cascade that down to individuals. We may actually find that capitalism is socialism upside down. If that makes sense to you. Because then we're being selfish towards ourselves. And by doing so, we're able to develop ourselves from the bottom up. Whereas capitalism is saying abuse everyone else so that it can be well. But if we can develop ourselves from this other angle, Africa has become capitalistic in ideology.
Correct.
But our capitalism is now socialism in implementation, if that makes sense to you. Because Africa then becomes the immediate home. South Africa then becomes the immediate home. Right now we have load shedding here. Why? Because a lot of the fat guys in town here cannot afford to put quality coal into the power stations. They would rather be selling that same coal into China. Go to Richards Bay right now. I'm not joking. I was there. Trucks are packed from Pangeni into the bay. There are mountains of coal that are there. While our own ESCOM
on their way to Germany.
And by the same people in Germany are saying you must not use coal.
In America,
And we are sending the coal there and we have load shedding here. And then you look around and say, but doesn't charity begin at home? For crying out loud, Europe built its civilization on coal. Why are we not being allowed to build our civilization also on coal? And for all practical purposes, hell no. The amount of carbon dioxide Mudupi will produce into the air, it's 0.0% of what America is doing. So
every first world nation has been built on fossil fuels, but we're being told as developing nations that we cannot use.
No, man, it's a lie. And by the way, when they want us to use these modern forms of energy,
renewables,
who is going to be supplying this stuff? Who is going to be maintaining it? We're back to square one again. Go solar, go solar. We'll donate 10 million worth of solar panels. And what? Boom, you have the solar panels. In less than 6 months, they're picking up. Who do you call for services and fixing up of those things and repairs? Look at Zimbabwe. They build up the power stations using British equipment. Kush, wake up one morning, we're on sanctions. Britain says we're no longer doing business with you.
Yeah.
And the equipment is all British. And the spare parts are refusing to come. And monies cannot be transferred out of the country. Hey, the government is failing. Of course the government is failing. But can we look closer at the problem and to find right at the core of the thing again? It's the man who sold you an idea. Like what the young man in Niger is doing. In France, you want your uranium? You come here and build the power station here. I love that.
Burkina Faso.
When France misbehaves, we know where the switch is. We can also just go there and do exactly to them what they are doing to us. Now, to me, that's power and that's empowerment. And I wish that even Ramaphosa, if this thing gets to him, stop selling coal to Germany and China, build power here and send those people a final product of the coal itself. And tell me, if we can burn all that coal, how much power would we have here? We'll have enough for South Africa, enough for Africa. The rest of it, we can send them to the world. But it doesn't make sense that you have to send products out and then buy them back as final products at 100% of the price that you sell them to.
You speak about Ramaphosa, you spoke about Donald Trump. Our African leaders, unfortunately, have been proven to not put Africa first.
I really look forward one day when I will meet Ramaphosa eyeball to eyeball. I look forward to that day. I'm looking for him.
Are you expecting to see something? Or to hear something?
No. I just want to whisper something to him.
Do you think it will work? Do you think you can wake him up?
I don't know how many bullets it takes to kill a man. Not that I want to kill him. I don't know how much information you need to change your mind. But one piece of information could transform a lot of things. I think he has a beautiful opportunity. At the center of the crisis of South Africa, the amount of money that he has as an individual is enough to fix the country's problems. At a critical point where the country is crying for help.
Is that not waiting for Jesus to come back?
I've lost hope in that gentleman. Wherever he is, and whenever he's going to come back.
Is this not a similar magical, I hope I can whisper in his ear because maybe one day he'll come back, as if he was ever here?
I am saying so to a man who is sitting on resources and who has an access to information and access to a network, that we cannot have the country.
But you're assuming he cares.
Maybe that's the weakness. Maybe that's the weakness I have.
You're thinking Jesus will come back.
It's Ubuntu. I hear you. I hear you twice. The Ramaphosa must become the Jesus who saves us. But there's no way right now where I am where I can build a power station and because these are enabling environments that allow the local community to function. I've seen businesses close down and so in that sense, I tend to feel like we may need to get a new breed of young politicians.
It must be politicians.
No, let me say drivers of economy, rather. But politicians, again, in one way or the other, we're going to be needing a place of common convergence. But let the power remain with the people that are at the bottom. But right now, I'm just focusing, maybe I don't apply my mind much to what you're saying. But right now, just focusing at one problem that we have. I would not mind if Ramaphosa and his friends, Ramaphosa and Pravin, with all due respect, just take your money, go to Stellenbosch, speak to Rupert and Oppenheimer, buy Eskom out, own it, but allow people to have services.
Because that's already what you guys want. So
that's what you want. Just get it done with. Get it done with.
But let's.
You want South African Airways? Just buy the thing and put the aeroplanes back on the road. Let people work.
You want Transnet? Sell it to Glencoe. It's fine, but just serve the people.
You will go to and meet Malema in court and discuss why you did it and how you did it. That's a conversation for another day. But you cannot squeeze people.
Right now you're throttling the people and they can't breathe.
And this is how you make people revolt. This is how you lose everything that you have. This is how Shevchenko, the guy from Czechoslovakia, who was thrown on the streets and his property is destroyed. And this is exactly what happens. You gather all these things to yourself. Think carefully, Ramaphosa. The day you step out of office, you are going to be in court for the rest of your life to account for these injuries that you've caused along the way. For what it is worth, start looking after the common people. appease the people. They don't want much.
They don't want much.
They just want to switch on their electricity.
Africans don't want much.
They just want food on their table and allow them to become. But when you begin to tamper with these critical issues of,
You turn them into desperate animals.
and when that day comes, the poor people will eat the rich. I bet you Stellenbosch is not far. We'll eat up those grapes
Oh, a lot of those guys have already
Oh.
started moving overseas, by the way, and moving their companies. Anglo-American.
and their monies. And who is going to remain? Ramaphosa will remain dealing with this mess post his presidential term.
He might leave, but people will bring him back. We
What
can
happened?
access people now.
Jacob Zuma, they brought him back from Russia, is it? They wanted him back here. And with the democracy that you have in South Africa, I am saying this ahead, and I want you to cut this clip and put it on standby for the next 1 year. You will come back and revisit this clip word for word. If Jacob Zuma took those few years in court, we're going to be seeing something very interesting on Ramaphosa. Because when we start with Ramaphosa, it's going to start way back where it's uncomfortable. We're going to start off with Rustenburg, which has been put on reps right now for managing the anger of the people. We're going to be dealing with all these issues of business deals. I mean, how do you... Pravini's got 52 companies. 52 companies. Shareholding in all of them. Pushing business tenders into those. I've never seen Pravin appearing in court.
These are businesses that compete with the state having to supply.
No,
the
those
masses.
businesses are the state. Those businesses are delivering what the state needs. He's an arm. He's in parliament. And who talks about it? He's untouchable. And not only that, he also has his hand fully in SARS to manage his taxation.
Because he used to be at SARS. He used to
So
run SARS.
we are going to be having a very interesting post-Ramaphosa conferencing of accounting for all these things. I am sorry, Ntate Gwede Mantashe, you are in the same basket because you are sitting on the mining space right now. I'm sorry for Begitele because you are also managing the police issues and the crime stuff. I'm sorry for the prosecutors that are being elected. I feel sorry for Zondo himself. They are going to be put in one big bag. And the country of 52 million cannot be held ransom by a handful of people who are holding the country ransom. And I don't say this only for South Africa. I say this for Zimbabwe. I say this for Malawi. I say this for... The new generation of Africans that you have are no longer the docile mine workers of 1960. Yeah, yes, bus. Yes, bus. Yes, bus. The yes, bus era has just passed by. They will need to deal, not with me, they will need to deal with young people. When you say Nelson Mandela, the young boy will ask you, who is Mandela? I don't know Mandela for nothing. And when you deal with young people like that who have no clue as to what are you talking about, the anger of the young people will spill into the countries become ungovernable because leaders become irresponsible. They don't become irresponsible only because they're irresponsible, but they are negligent to the basic needs of the community. A hungry stomach knows no politics. Right now, let's get hungry. Let's get hungry and tell me order.
Let's discuss communism and capitalism and socialism while you're hungry.
There's order, please. Order when there's food there. That's why you have stampedes, where people will run on top of each other to access what they want. And if you don't hear me now, maybe you'll hear me later.
I asked a question about what is an African, and in that question, I'd like to also ask, who does Africa belong to? Who does land? Who does land as a general concept belong to? And what is an African?
Any man who sells land is a criminal. Anyone. Because no one has the first receipt of where they bought it from. Africans is it where we don't own our land. Our land owns us. From it we came, to it we shall return. The background is that when the Europeans came here and they said they wanted land, the African says, oh, really? You want land? There is it. Because in our heads, we never thought that land could be put in a briefcase.
It's abundance. Land
and
is
someone
available.
jumps in a boat or in an aeroplane and flies away with our land.
Yes.
But what the African did not understand is that by giving me a piece of land, in the backdrop of our ignorance, legislative frameworks were being structured to ownership of land. Laws were being written down. You gave me the piece of land, next thing we saw were wires being put around this land. All of a sudden, you can't access your grandfather's graves. You can't access the river, but you said it's mine.
No thoroughfare.
And then policemen are coming around.
Yes.
Then your cattle have come onto my land. I'm confiscating them systematically. We were duped into thinking that the usage of land would remain communal.
Yes.
We did not know that it will move into a capitalistic sort of space.
Private property rights is a very big one that a lot of the beneficiaries of colonialism love quoting in the Constitution.
Who is the African? The African is not a geographical location in as much as it is. Who is the African? The African is the one who is allowed to practice and live in Africa in connection with his culture and practice self-actualization using his resources to the best of his ability and not become a footnote on the historical storyline of the colonialist, but become the subject matter of that storyline. So being African is not complexion. Being African is a mindset, solving our problems using both African indigenous knowledge systems, creating parallel systems to the capitalistic system and allowing our people to have access. It saddens me that even at this day, we cannot be talking about Africa Union having an Africa Union Bank. Where all these countries, we borrow money from ourselves. Africa Union National Army. Silence the genocide in Congo, which is going on as I'm talking to you right now.
That is correct.
You know, silencing all these wars that are happening, protecting
Somalia,
our borders.
Ethiopia, Cameroon,
Congo.
deaths,
Africa-
Sudan.
Africa is in flames. And
Constantly.
people are taking pictures with Xi Jinping. People are taking pictures with, we are talking about BRICS. Here,
They're
BRICS,
visiting leaders of Russia and Ukraine.
BRICS, this, BRICS, my foot. We needed Africs, our own form of consolidation of our money. Why is it that we only unite when we go to India and we go to Russia and we cannot unite on the ground? And by the way, the GDP of Africa on its own is bigger than BRICS. In all honesty, when it comes to resources, manpower, natural resources, and money itself. So again, we need our national army. We need to supervise our borders, our own aviation. We need to consolidate our educational system. I don't know these guys who are running these systems, if they need to come to, let me be arrogant. They need to come to me for school. I know that sounds very arrogant. They need to come for school and we can come with just a 5-year plan. I hear the Africa Union story. I hear the whole Pan-African story. But something that is lacking is the how part. What is it that Africa Union must do? We need a bank, we need an army, we need education. If we, for example, just remove the borders only, I did a research the other day, $3 billion will start running from border to border on the African continent for free, just by doing policy change. I'm not saying
Not removing the borders, but
Don't remove
changing
the
the
borders.
policies for free trade.
just allow Africans to move goods. Those who want pounded yam from Uganda, the Ugandans here can simply make a call to Uganda and say, hey, bless
Buy
me.
it, sell it, let's move.
Bring pounded yam, and the truck can drive with pounded yam.
Yes.
And those who want fufu from Nigeria, fly it in. We can eat our fufu here. And those who want stuff from South Africa, just by opening borders only, without killing passports,
Yeah.
just open the trade between borders. But all these tariffs, and by the way, this is what annoys me, Penuel. This is what annoys me, ticks me off. That we have politicians who get into power, but they don't understand the monster called the government and colonial policies that run the government, which includes immigration, business, ownership. Right now, trying to open a bank. You are coming from the banking sector, I'm glad. Trying to open a bank, you will need to fill in forms from here to Palaburwa. You need
Many have tried and failed in
you
real
need
time.
backup system, you need monies, you need guarantees, you need sureties, you need
260 million.
which they know you won't have anywhere.
Correct.
But here's Capitec. One man-owned bank. Who talks? Who backs him up? But we understand. Here's RNB, First National Bank, owned by an individual.
What about Time Bank?
Here we go.
Black Bank.
But who talks about it?
Is Time Bank a black bank?
I'm chewing my words because
Okay.
you know exactly why I'm chewing my words. Because black banks for me are black owned, black shareholder, black empowering.
They invest in
And
black spaces.
if Time Bank is a black bank right now, blacks should be queuing there to go and open up accounts and function and run businesses. And again, when you open up these black banks, as you said, I don't want it to become a black bank. Yet the bureaucracy of the same colonial banks,
The South African Reserve Bank.
you're still basically dealing with the Reserve Bank here at the back.
Central Bank
but
of London.
the fronting is okay with an African bank. But the forms that you must fill in, you still want guarantees. Oh, and by the way, the issue of guarantees, let me mention it. You still want guarantees. Well done. But you know that communal land and traditional land is not part. It's not insurable. And you cannot use it as surety when you come to a loan. So by saying you want sureties, what are you talking about? You're talking again to the same commercial, urban-based community.
Yes.
So it's not effective at all. And this is a nice one. You have a house in Rustenburg, right outside Marikana, that is sitting on a platinum belt. It's got these 2, 3, 4, 5 hectares. And underneath that house is maybe 50, 60, maybe 80, 100 million worth of platinum.
Dollars.
In dollars. You have a house that is in Sandton that is sitting on top of a sewage pipe. And there's nothing underneath. The man sitting on a sewage pipe can walk up to Standard Bank and get a 10 million rand loan. The man sitting on a $60 million resource cannot pick up his asset and walk up to Standard Bank and get at least 12 million to start a mining project on his own plot. And you call that is empowerment?
Who does land belong to?
Land belongs to itself. Land belongs to those that it produces.
And in reality today?
Because of the colonial judiciary structures, land belongs to the one who has the piece of paper, which he also stole from the one who stole, from the one who said he bought it. Ultimately, land belongs to the chief who gave this one and signed a treaty with the grandfather that you can use the land. But land belongs to the people. Not those that have come to live in it. No, land belongs to the people. The whole of Gauteng, and by the way, all these municipalities are crime scenes, including the government, because you're collecting taxes from the land that doesn't belong to you. Gauteng belongs to, Pretoria belongs to Kwandebele, Swaziland and Mpumalanga belongs to, Bloemfontein belongs to, Rustenburg and etc. belongs to. And when you look around these chiefs, and I think you need to study very carefully the Royal Mafokeng house and the model that they've created. That should be the right model. Right now, if Royal Mafokeng, I think the last time I checked it, they're sitting about 47, 48 million. If billion, I can't remember.
I think it's billions. The Royal Bafokeng have done really well with platinum.
And with 48 billion, and if you can circle where Royal Mafokeng is, if I was Ramophosa, that must be the first Orania. That if you can approve Orania, where whites are still raising the Afrikaner flag, Royal Mafokeng right now, all those beautiful roads in Rustenburg, you see that crocodile? Those are their roads.
The Kwena people.
If right now, this is me talking, if I had power, I would take the budget that we have for that province, for Royal Mafokeng area, and I will extract that whole budget and put it on the 48 billion that Royal Mafokeng has already, and allow that kind of an space to say, can you do your school? Can you do your hospitals? Can you do what? And ANC needs to answer to itself one day for destroying the legacy of Mangope and what he had done in the Rustenburg area. The amount of infrastructure. I went to Ulihurutse the other day. A friend of mine lost a mother. We went there. I'm not lying to you. I must take you there one day. We sat in a theater which has a basement where the band sits, auditorium, the acoustics in that place, madness. And to gather that this was done in the 80s and 90s by Mangope.
In a Bantustan.
In the midst of nowhere. Now, the industries that were in Hammanskraal, Lefika, all those industries right now, they are beds and goats. And ANC deliberately made sure that those industries don't see the light of day because we cannot be seen to be holding the legacy of Mangope. The stadium. Unfortunately, you're talking to someone who travels and I'm informed about South Africa quite extensively. The Rhino studios that are in Mahikeng, they were the best studios in Africa. Any musician would know that. With a full lodge and hotels for artists and stuff like that. Here's a man with a vision. I flew from Rustenburg and into those bushes as early as 1992, 93. And you look at how that legacy has gone to the bush. Simply because ANC feels it does not have a legacy to protect about a Bandustan.
So you said two important things. The first one is you still want to whisper into the politicians' ears, which I think we need to get rid of, and we must build parallel power systems, because the second thing you said is, if I had power, and I believe you have power. I think the problem that in what you're saying and many other people have is they are still subscribing to the same paper ideology of land. They still want to subscribe to this idea of banks. They still, to what you're saying about cleansing, part of the issue is we need to revolutionize what is called decolonize the mind and say, we don't want you to give us land. Don't give us land. Don't give us land. Don't change the constitution. We don't want to vote for anything. Whatever you've told us is the way for us to access the land, we don't want it. It's fine. What we will do is we will live and exist on the land. And we will do it, whether you want to call it illegal occupation, whether you want to call it squatting, whatever. We will do that. We will trade. We will do these things of illegal foreigners and forcing trades and a black market, because you are not our power figure. We do not subscribe and ascribe. And look, it will cause a lot of conflicts. And the same people we call leaders that we vote for are going to be the same people to shut these things down. But we need to get people to a higher level of
once you step
consciousness.
there, Penuel, you are now talking a revolution. All right? You are now talking a revolution, and I think you need to be responsible for that revolution. Because I'll strike a matches right now and the house will be on fire.
Yeah.
And I will not hesitate to do that. The day you talk about land, you will see the wrath of the IMF and the international community.
Correct.
You need to study the Zimbabwe model very carefully. Very carefully. That the only crime that Robert Mugabe did, the darling of the world, most educated president in the world,
speaking the
with
best English,
55 doctorates and degrees around the world, including Cambridge and Oxford and Massachusetts and Harvard and. But the day he touched land, he became a tyrant. So Malema's ideology is beautiful, but I don't think the country is ready for the backlash that comes with that. Number one, when you are taking people to occupy land, let's take a drive, even this afternoon, to Grasmere, just across Soweto here. There's land invasion that is happening.
correct.
The only problem is that they are invading Mukuku land, not land. So it's still 3 meters by 4 meters, as long as I can put my check.
Yeah.
And where they are, if you look going that way, there is still plenty land. Because our people, in as much as they are thinking about land, they are not thinking beyond a house.
Correct.
They are not thinking business. They are not thinking farming. They are not thinking mining. So if we are going to invade the land, let's invade land, not Mkuku land.
Yes.
So the mindset of invasion, if it is governed by Mkuku ideology,
It's not going to work. We need an abundance mindset.
and the parallel system you're talking about, maybe let's not mess up the system when our people are not ready
Yes.
to deal with each other, to work with each other. Right now, if you are listening to this program, buy some chickens for your grandmother who is in the village, buy some goats, buy some sheep, buy some cows, send some seeds for this planting season, harvest. Food sustainability is the first thing, and let the market start. And when this one has got 100 goats, 10 goats, 15 goats, create markets around that, feed those goats into the butcheries, but you're full. See, it's a beautiful part. You're full. Now we know that in this region here, there are plenty of goats and sheep. That economy can translate itself into a bank. We can now insure those goats and sheep under ourselves. We begin to grow slowly. Because this whole ideology again of, I want to own the bank.
Yes.
Standard Bank will never give you Standard Bank.
Correct.
ABSA will never give you ABSA. They'd rather pick one or two of you guys as shareholders.
Correct.
Not give that to the people. So we need community banks. But again, the same rules that govern Stokvels and these community banks are the Reserve Bank rules again.
Yes.
So we need some rebellion of some sort, where if we as 100 people decide to put our money here,
Yes.
and we look after each other and we borrow from each other, there's this program.
Masholisane.
Yeah, masholisane. And masholisane, if we come to a bank and say we want to do our own masholisane, the rules, what the government can do for us and police must do for us, that allow people who want to start their own thing. But if that is not working, then let's do it from our own community. But now the principles of Ubuntu must kick in.
Yes.
If people give you their money as a community,
Yes.
are you responsible enough? Or we're going to end up again every other week in court,
Correct.
where the same blacks who say they want power, now they have power but they cannot manage it. And unfortunately, the white people are aware of that. So it's like, hey, buy again,
They're going to self-destruct.
Now they will destroy it. It's a self-propelling missile. It will burst in the midst of nowhere.
Orania is something to study. I asked specifically because you mentioned it at number 2, because they've also got their own currency,
no.
Ora, and they're making it digital and crypto as well.
Now Orania is a beautiful concept. And actually, South Africa must be Orania in its totality. Not Orania in terms of being white,
Yes.
but the same privileges, the same authority that South Africa would allow the white community to create their own currency in a country, raise their own flag in a country,
Yes.
defy the constitution by telling fellow South Africans, you cannot live here except as a housemaid and a garden boy. And at certain time of the day, 5, 6 in the evening, get out of here. We don't want to be living with blacks. In a free South Africa.
By the way, sorry, I need to correct this because I know it spreads. They pride themselves in Orania that they do all their work themselves and they don't hire black workers.
It's not true.
No, I don't know how true it is.
No, it's not true.
That's all I've
not. It's not true. Yes, they do their own work here and there.
But please continue.
Yeah, and if the white community is allowed even to raise a colonial flag,
Yes.
in a free South Africa,
Which they do.
come on, guys. So this whole
They have
thing
their
about,
own currency
this
now.
whole thing about the national anthem is a fallacy. This whole thing about a free South Africa is a fallacy, because if the white people are free, then the black people must be free also. We must be allowed in Venda to have our own currency.
What's stopping people in Venda from building something like Orania?
The conversation is starting as I'm talking right now.
Okay.
This is where it starts. It starts off with an
Venda
idea.
Building Society, VPS.
But what happened to it? It was infested and it was taken over. But at a certain time, we need not to undermine those institutions.
Yeah.
Because people, they set up those systems with a certain... Because when people come to abuse these systems,
Yes.
there were resources in there.
Correct.
So you're not coming to empty shell. Where it was just...
Like Boputatswana, like Royal Bafokeng, there are people that are doing good work. Even the ZCC Church and the Shembe, they just need some type of formalization and to spread the story.
Now
so
look
people know
at it this way. This one is a brilliant one. So the Royal Mafokeng House right now, with the amount of reserve that they have, the 260 million that is needed by the bank, and is sitting on 48 billion. So by all practical purposes, the Royal Mafokeng can start having a bank right now and giving us cards which you can use to swipe on their toll roads and etc.
Yes.
And they can set up an infrastructure. So and the Mafokeng can come up with their own currency.
Correct.
Zulu can come up with their own currency.
Ngonyama Trust Land there.
And when all these communities, 13 communities, have broken apart, maybe even the Cape Town story of creating another country out of Cape Town is not such a bad idea. Everyone stay where they are. And when that is happening, I want to see where the government will be.
People say that's apartheid.
Now, that's not apartheid. This table is sitting on these legs.
Yes.
If we remove these legs, the party is over. This thing will collapse.
The political party is over.
The whole lying and selling us, giving us t-shirts and caps ends, because it serves no purpose. It's 25, 26, 28 years later after independence, 40 years later after independence, 60 years later after Ghana. What have we to show? The other day, Prince Charles walks back into Kenya. He's given a red carpet.
Yes.
I tell you, the Mau Mau and the Kikuyus and the Masaias, the grandfathers should have been turning in their graves. But that's the quality of politicians that we have.
I don't know if you know the stats. I just want to mention it. Human beings occupy, in terms of residential, about 1.5% of the Earth's land surface. Habitable. land service, only 1.5%. In South Africa, it's arguably the same, 1 to 1.5% is where we live on this land, to show how much land we actually have and how we don't have an abundance
And
mindset.
then what Bill Gates come around and say,
them
we have overpopulated. Go home and smoke your socks. I mean, I was flying from Uganda the other day, flying from Kenya in the night on a beautiful clear sky.
Yes.
You see some small little flick of light over there.
Yes.
And all is just darkness.
Yes.
And then that's Kigali. There's a
Yes,
small little
yes.
flick of light there. You're now approaching Lilongwe. And you look around and you say, we are overpopulated.
There's an abundance of land
It's not
around
true.
the whole world, and in specifically in Africa.
It's not true. And I would want to mention something also in passing. I know this will sound offensive, but I will say it anyway, intentionally. There's no normal human being who would wake up in the morning to design nuclear bombs, design guns, to destroy and kill other people, and you make it a career. There's no normal government that can wake up in the morning to design missiles and run around other countries and bombing people. There's no normal people who are living in Gaza and in Palestine, who are living in Ukraine and in Russia, who are living in America and other places where killing of people and humanity can be allowed and tolerated in the name of being a superpower.
It's a business and a career.
No. I think let us be responsible as human beings. If you want something from me, you can ask from me. If I say no, Penuel, Maponga J, can we have an interview? Yes, my brother, it's cool. Can we have an interview? I am busy. Can we reschedule? No, Penuel does not take no for an answer. Penuel
will do it no matter
Penuel
what.
looks for bodyguards. There are black cars coming around with me, coming to hijack me from my own house. Sit on the chair. You're going to be doing this. Anyone who wants power wants to abuse us, because love can get the same job done with cooperation. So the arrogance of the Americans needs to stop. The murders of the Israelis, murders of the Palestinians, murder of the Ukrainians, murder of the Russians, in the name of political agenda, political ideology. Socialism versus capitalism has become a religion because people must die for it.
The Pelican, I think it's called the Pelican Treaty or Pelican Indaba Treaty, where South Africa is one of the leaders of nuclear, just as a concept. We even had our own bombs. We signed, after the apartheid government handed over power to the ANC, that we will not create any nuclear weapons.
We need to tell Ramophosa, go get that piece of paper and burn it.
And on the entire African continent, when America's nuclear weapons, parts of the Middle East, Europe, Asia, we pride ourselves in the fact that we, after the apartheid government, which had nuclear bombs, they dismantled them before they handed over power to the ANC. And then the ANC signed that we will ensure that we will have no nuclear weapons, number one. Louis Theroux, a BBC journalist, sat with the ex-leader of the AWB, Eugene Terblanche, and he asked him for the criteria of what it takes to be a Boer, an Afrikaner. And at the end, he asked, can a black person not be a Boer? And I want to flip this around for you in the question of an African. Can a white person or an Indian or a Chinese or a Japanese person be an African?
That's beautiful. I lived in Britain for some years. I lived in Netherlands and Utrecht for some time. I spent some time in the US. And while I was in Europe for those years, I never became a European by all practical purposes. If I can go and live in India right now, I'll never be an Indian.
6 generations later, 10 generations later?
My children can assume citizenship and stuff like that. But in all fairness, if a black man living in Sweden right now and in Germany cannot be addressed as a European, okay, that's exactly what you're asking me. And even if he has children and they're on the paper, it's written European, but are they European? You're asking the essence of identity. No. There's no white man who can become an African because there's no African who can become a European. Full stop. Not mixing my words. And that's a reality we need to start dealing with. Right now, even up to now, our black brothers that are in America, what are they called?
African. Americans.
Yes. Why the suffix? Why the prefix and why the suffix?
Because the white Americans are not called Irish, Italian, Spanish Americans.
If you answer right there.
You spoke about violence. And one of my criticisms has always been this concept of Ubuntu and being an African is almost always anti-violence. And maybe that is one of the weaknesses we have.
No.
Sorry, I mean violence in the context of what you were saying.
I am with you. Ubuntu does not mean we did not go to war. Ubuntu does not mean we did not protect our land. Ubuntu does not mean that if someone was killed in the village there, the other village would not pick up its spears when the people have failed to atone for what they have done.
Yes.
War was inevitable. So Ubuntu is not docility. Otherwise, why are we talking about spears and shields and chants of war? So Ubuntu must not be abused as a docile state of an African.
Yes.
We're bowing down. No. Ubuntu is dignity that says you respect me because I respect you.
Is it not just defense, that violence, versus, you said in America, maybe Europe, where they intentionally go out of their way? The idea right now is for Africans to reclaim Africa. No one that I've ever heard of has ever spoken of an agenda of colonizing Asia, Europe, America as an African and say, look, while they're busy having fun on our continent, maybe to attain the power they attained or to reclaim whatever power we have, we're going to send small groups to go and colonize, whether as Nigerians.
I know we spoke about this the other day, and I think many people got offended that if these white people don't change and they don't change fast, they now have an educated group of Africans who are equally scrupulous, equally sharp-minded like they are.
Yes.
And me and you, we share the same idea on that. If these guys don't change, we will wipe them off the face of the earth. All it takes right now is for me to start a campaign that says, let every black man that is there get a white woman as a second wife. Or let all the young men that are there marry white women. It takes one generation, and once they cross over that line, the white community will disappear on the face of the earth. Unfortunately, the clans, what do you call them? Clan.
The Ku Klux Klan, the KKK.
They know it. That's why
white supremacy.
Orania is a mild version of the KKK. It's about preservation. We don't want. But if you guys are allowed to preserve yourself, why is everyone else not allowed to preserve themselves? That's the real critical question that KKK and all those people would think that they've right. If the white people think that they own the economy of South Africa, what makes you think that the Africans also don't want to own the economy? If the white people think they own the banks, what makes you, if vets and other institutions, white institutions, think that they have the right of existence, then what makes you think that Africans also don't want the same thing? You want good cars, we want them too. You want beautiful houses, we want them too. We want our children go to school. No, we want even to build our own schools also. So this sense of, I don't respect you, because and again, this is where religion really messes up this thing to a level you can't understand. Because it is Christianity that taught the Afrikaner, when he came here, that God was cooking people in a pot. Humanity was in a pot. This is on paper.
Yeah.
The Dutch Reformed theology. So he took out the whites first. That's why they are white. The next, he took out the Indians and the coloreds. That's why they are light in complexion. He thought he was going to take out the blacks. Then the story says he forgot the blacks in the bottom of the pot. That's why they bent and they are black.
Penning.
Now, then Christianity says, you are a chosen nation.
Oh, the covenant.
To this group now. You are a chosen nation. And listen to dangerous verses. Wherever your foot will go, I'll give you that land. I'll send you to the land of the Gentiles who don't know, and I'll give you that land. And then the Afrikaner, when he comes into South Africa, he says, God gave us this land. And God gave them the land because the people they found on the land were pagan and did not believe in Jesus. And because they believed in Jesus and they are the children of the Most High, therefore they have power and authority over the people that are non-believers.
The Kafirs.
I want you to understand.
Is a non-believer.
This is serious because the whole idea of apartheid is not politics. It's religion. Therefore, if you don't believe in Jesus, you don't deserve dignity, you don't deserve respect, you don't deserve land. And me who believe in Jesus, as that other white man from Harry Smith, whatever it is, spoke out blatantly.
Lord Smith.
Not Lord Smith, man. This pastor who does crusades there, puts on a big hat.
Oh, Buchanan.
Yeah, spoke up and he said, only us
The covenant.
Afrikaners and white people made a covenant with God. Oh, wow.
That's
and the
becoming,
rest of you, and then you'd come back a few days, of course, and apologize for religious reasons. But he had already said it, and we heard him. And by saying that the only ones with the covenant, it means that all of us, 50 million later, who don't have a covenant with God, we don't have access to water, we don't have access to land, we don't have access to respect and dignity. And then the Constitution is written, not for the 50 million, it's written to protect the rights of the 2 million.
So I wanna go on, for people, some people have told me that kafir is a term for a non-believer, the derogatory term for
That's
black
an
people.
Islamic word, yeah. Kafir.
Yeah, and I'm now thinking to what you're saying about apartheid being religious and not so much political.
And by the way, while I'm battling on that,
Yes.
that is the same ideology that the United Nations Israel, I cannot call them the biblical Israel, the United Nations Israel.
Yes.
Because when they were 1947, when they were starting Israel, they looked for those in Europe who wanted to relocate.
That's the Balfour.
Yes. Then some of the Europeans who wanted to come and occupy, and they all claimed to be Israelis. But we know in the actual sense, they are not Israelis. They are Ashkenazis and a few Europeans. And even parts of some of the Nazis are there also. But that's a conversation for another day. And the same ideology of apartheid, where according to Genesis 12 and 15, Abraham, go to a land that I'll show you. I'll give you that land.
Canaan.
Yeah, Canaan, the land of Canaan. And Abraham gets here and their people. And God has given his favorite child a land that belongs to another. Now, this is a painful thing, Penuel. Here's a glass of water. Here's some water. Take it for yourself. Take that water. Come on, sit, my brother. Yeah, come on, sit, my brother.
Yeah.
And then the same water that I gave to him.
This is your water
I
now.
give you that water. Take it. I'm starting conflict. And the Bible story is founded right there that if God was really a God of love, how do you give one nation a piece of land and you take the same land and give it to another nation? Now for 3,000 past years, guns and spears have been flying in that space. And then you come around with John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Go and tell that passage to the Palestinians.
When you look at the Bible and Christianity, there's something about dominion over animals. And I'm wondering in what you're saying that when the white people, and we'll speak about the Afrikaners, because they call South Africa the fatherland, the fatherland.
Fatherland or father's land?
Maybe father's land.
Okay. No, thank you.
So they could have categorized black people as part of the animals and nature that God has given us to take care of and look after. And like any other animal, we'll take care of you, but you don't need nice clothes and a nice house. I mean, we found you naked here. Our job is to create these nice systems so that you're okay. And obviously we'll use you like we use a cow or a donkey or a horse.
Again, we're back to theology, Penuel, where as early and as late as the 1950s, 60s, even into the early 70s, the theology of the Catholics and the theology of many of the Christian white-dominated supremacist churches. Maybe in that light, can you study Sarah Batman and the rest of them, where the theology was that actually blacks don't have a soul. They're not human beings.
They're animals. They
They're not
make
human
animal
beings.
sounds. They live in bushes with nature like any other animal we've seen.
Now-
They're like apes.
And now when you begin to speak English like a black man, then the same white people come and say, yeah, you're not like them.
Yes.
Who are them? It's almost like this whole process of whitening of the black man,
Yes.
like they did in Egypt and Algeria and some of the coastal lands in the Arab world. It's actually a crime against humanity. That the genocides that are happening in Germany, in Namibia, the genocides that are happening, and some of the wars that were fought in Africa, even KwaZulu-Natal. If you watch Shaka the Zulu and some of the documentaries, some of those white people did not believe they were fighting human beings. The savages. I went to KwaZulu-Natal. If you get to the Hilton Hotel in Durban,
Yes.
just after passing McDonald's there, when you're entering into Durban,
Yes.
there is a Hilton here. If you look on your left, there's a police station, big police station behind. There's a graveyard in there, a cemetery of the top-ranking soldiers in the British, etc. I would try to go there now. I found that they have deleted some of the information and they rechanged that placard. But when I was there in 1994, 95, 96, I was working in Durban. There's a beautiful park, and there's some nice sepulchres and stuff like that. But it's nice, beautiful, lush. So I'll go and read there. So I'm walking past this grave, and I see this big image of, a stone with British, those funny heads of theirs, and guns that have
God save the Queen.
that have banners in front of them. And it's written at the bottom there, "Here are the gallant soldiers who died while fighting the savages." In black and white, written on stone. I went there, they've deleted it, they removed it. Because I think that's where war begins.
Yes.
Where you call me a savage, and then you go to define what is a savage. It's
Barbarian, a kafir, a
not just
non-believer, animal, soulless.
Ruthless, soulless, senseless, mindless, Christianless person. If person is even included in that. So when you begin to talk about...
Science used to say black people, Africans, are 3/5 human at some point. Not full human.
And now when science is coming up, proper science is coming up and it's telling us that Africans actually were a 9 and whites are a 6 in terms of our genetic makeup. We actually are of a superior race than they are.
The original man.
Will they be able to publish that now? They don't even have skin to protect them from the sun. Later on, the empathy and the heart is sikhe. So if you see someone that is struggling, your heart goes out for them. Right now, we can be walking together, me and you. We find a black man struggling. We find a white man struggling. Come on, tell me the truth. Where would your heart go? Naturally.
To the white man.
Come on.
He shouldn't be there.
I'm at home at least when I'm fit. But something in us, in that empathy.
We have to protect the
so
white man.
We are not like them. And what I'm afraid of many times is that this colonial system will make us like them, will reduce us to be like them.
I'm becoming like them, I have to confess.
And then you end up also having to put aside your humanness to deal with a system that is inhuman.
Have you watched a movie called Scarface, Al Pacino, where he says, I'll be the bad guy? It gets to a point sometimes when you study history where some of us feel called upon to become the Genghis Khan, Ibrahim Traore from Burkina Faso, where you say, I will assimilate to the animal. I will study him the same way he studied us so that we can infiltrate. And I'll be the bad guy and you'll call me names. But later on,
hell will break loose. Let me announce it on your platform, Penuel. Ladies and gentlemen around the world, particularly the colonial and the white system, the fact that we are human and we are forgiving and we are kind does not mean that we are not thoughtful. We are not aware of what is happening. South Africa is a miracle. Zimbabwe is a miracle. Kenya is a miracle. That people who raped our mothers, maimed our fathers, took our land, butchered and sidelined us. Right now, you could still be walking side by side, drinking teas together, crossing each other on the malls. And once in a while, when you get excited as a white community, you shoot us on your farms, calling us monkeys. You set dogs on us because we're inhuman. You better watch out when you tamper with people that have both the strength and the numbers. When justice will be required, you who is committing the crime, you will no longer be here. But I bet you better make it good by your own children, because you are living a residue of perpetual hatred. It may take 50 years, it may take 100 years, but one morning people will wake up and say, I'm an illegal immigrant in Australia. I'm an alien in America. I'm a foreigner in Britain. Where is my home? Where is my land? And these small little pieces of land that you have taken for yourselves and build yourself lush houses, these small little properties that you beat your chest around, you are going to leave your children with a big, heavy 1 milestone hanging on their necks. And when that generation comes up, you are fortunate enough you are dealing still with us. They are lucky. Ask me why. Ask me why.
Why?
We still believe in Jesus. If a man claps you one cheek,
turn the other cheek.
Give him the other cheek. If a man takes your jacket, give him the waistcoat also. If a man forces you to walk with him, walk 2 miles. But as we are teaching right now an African spirituality, going back to our roots, and we are weaning the children away from the titi of Christianity into their African roots. They will want access to their rivers. They will want access to their forests. They will want access to their mountains where they can practice their own spirituality. And when that day comes, you will wish you had listened to my instructions. I'm saying this futuristic, in a futuristic way. This is a prophecy I'm giving you.
My last two questions. Number one, what does a utopia or a promised land or a future perfect Africa look like? And then in closing, I'd like you to maybe indulge myself and whoever's going to be listening on the farmers of thought and African indigenous systems and where people can dive into literature that can awaken them.
Okay. I'll start with the last one.
Okay.
The Farmers of Thought. Please log in on Farmers of Thought Reading Club or Reading Club FOT. That is on Telegram. I've put a beautiful library there. Personally selected books by myself. That will include anti-Diop books, Kemetic books, the books of the dead. I've included the writings of Osoyinke, Chinua Achebe. I've included the Kwame Nkrumah's few treaties, the whole development of an African narrative. These are purely Credo. Yes, I've whatever I was. These free libraries that are on the internet where you enrolled and you're able to download some few books.
Yes.
So it's quite legal. The books are there. You can read as much as you want. And I think some other people have already started downloading some of them, keep them as a library. Because I've created that as a growing space for the young people so that we can just develop this IKS. But over and above that information, I don't want again to put too much emphasis on that because it's written one generation before us. These are the books that are written from now, but going backwards. But the dynamics we are now seeing, we're also looking for young, new authors who can begin to populate that space. So even if a Penuelism book will be available, these are the kind of, because education is not static. Anyone who says he's educated and graduated in 1975, come on, go home and sleep. You can't even tell us we're educated. Those books we're studying were written in 1920. It's a defunct system. So it's not even, so there is a space we're creating for that kind of learning.
IKS, Indigenous Knowledge Systems. Telegram, Farmers of Thought.
No, it's not, it's just actually called FOT Reading Club, which is Farmers
Reading Club.
FOT Reading Club, yes. Okay. But if they have a problem, they can always link up with us on our WhatsApp groups and stuff, and we can channel them there. And so learning is progressive, and we have also broken some few WhatsApp groups where those who want to do agriculture, those who want to do farming, again to start creating those parallel systems. I was in Mpumalanga last week speaking to some of the kings and chiefs there. We might be getting a huge piece of land.
Beautiful. Where
we can build a shrine, build a temple, do our own agricultural processes, and build a resort. Like most of the retreat center.
When churches are used correctly, they are absolutely magical. They become schools, they become farms.
It's a place you take off your shoes there. I will do things the way I know they must be done. My way.
We'll get to walk around naked like savages.
Not like
live with the nature like in Avatar.
I want to create just a space of, the detoxification, a full detoxification. So if you're an executive, you're stressed, you are what. I'm not saying there's medicine and etc., but it's a healing space where water and other acceptable forms of alternative healing must be available. But above it, it's a place where you can center yourself. And we've already identified 2-3 pieces of land, which we are talking to right now. And maybe on the next show, in the next couple of months, we might be talking of, we must take some tents. Immediately they give me that thing. We must take some tents and be the first ones and go and do a live broadcast. There's a beautiful river there, that flows by, and a nice mountain on the side. And we need to get there and actually start creating this content. And it will be nice for your audience and my audience to grow with us as history is beginning to become part of that history. And those who want to contribute with construction, with donations, create a dormitory, it's named after you, create a building, we name it after you, so that there's ownership. So you can also write your name on the epitaphs of history. It would be nice to have a Penuelism hall also there, where your teachings and your knowledge systems can also be preserved there. I know I will have a Credo Mutua village. also in space. I'll pick up the African spiritualists in a certain sense so that we can give people a holistic supermarket shelf sort of understanding African spirituality. So it doesn't just become as a Maponga J, farmers of thought thing. But I'm also standing on the shoulders. I had the privilege of working with Babu Credo. I've worked with Babu Nsingisa. I've worked with other spiritual, Bogogo, Dineo, and the rest of them, Bogogo, Skoteni, controversial as they are, Bogogo Maweni, and the rest, we are in the same space. So yeah, on the FOT, the Reading Club, I think I stopped there. The other question was?
Thank you. The other one was about a utopia. Sorry, I'm going to try and find this queen's name. They've built an African school in KZN. I just haven't had a chance to visit. And I know I owe her a sit down as well, where they've gone fully alternative for African children. And these are the things we need to learn from. And even sitting with Oskote and Inomawe, and it's because we're all learning, we're all trying to awaken. DJ Sbu as well, Mkhulu Nsingeza, as you said, learning from Credo Muto, etc. The space in Mpumalanga, Nzalo Yelanga. Those are all the spaces we need to learn from.
Have you been there?
Building. I haven't been there. I was supposed to go.
Have you been to Sodwala?
I've Sodwala.
Sodwala Caves.
I have, yes.
Okay, then Sodwala there is Nzalo Ilanga. You also have lots of sacred sites, beautiful sites.
You want to travel from Cape to Cairo? I hope I can join you because for me it's going to be selfish.
You do what you can.
I want to spend a lot of time with you because you owe me. I'm saying this, but it's not true. You owe me from a conversation we've had to give me the tools to build systems similar to theological religious systems for Penuelism to thrive. Okay. Because I want to copy or borrow from some of those systems that have worked. Like I said, when a church is used right, becomes a daycare center, a school, aftercare space, there's a garden outside, it's a place of refuge, it's a healing center. The second question was your vision.
Utopia.
Because you're an artist, you're a visionary, you can draw, you can paint. Moses sold the story to the Israelites of the promised land, and he assimilated to the Egyptians in committing atrocities to free the people. What does a utopia, an African utopia, look like in your mind's eye?
Let me start off with the grave. The utopia I see is Africans using 30-40% of the land for commercial and living and agriculture, and the other 70% being allowed to recover and create a sustainable. We don't need to produce more. We don't need to farm more. We need to process more. We need to manufacture more. So instead of us looking at 300,000 hectares of wheat, and so many kilometers of coal that we must dig up from, maybe we need to dig a little bit and produce what is needed. So the processing concept I'm talking about will right now you drive from Wheatbank into the whole place is being dug up.
Yeah. But Sekunda, those areas.
And we don't need to dig up everything.
Yes.
And these are irreplaceable resources.
Correct.
And we dig less, process more. Then we can also sell final products. We will still make 100 times more.
Correct.
Than we are doing right now with raw material.
Yeah.
So the utopia that I have is when Africa stops being a producer of raw materials, but rather being a distributor of final products. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, I look at a new Africa where on top of every grave will no longer be burying people in coffins and metal boxes, but will create for these people beautiful cloth and biodegradable materials. And we bury people in a conception position. And on top
the Zulus used to do that from what I know.
On top of every grave, we plant a tree, fruit trees. It would be nice to create these sacred forests where you would visit your father's grave and you can pick up avocados on top of his grave and go home and eat with your children. Birds will return. Animals would fly back. I see in Africa again where children can go back to the river and drink waters from the river. I see in Africa where our houses will not be concrete jungles of square rooms, but our indigenous architecture. You guys who have gone to school and have done engineering, Are you telling me after 60, 80 years of running engineering institutions like Wits and Johannesburg, none of you has been able to pick up a Zulu hut and create a commercial building out of that architecture and technology? Study it. Understand it. Then bring it to class. Understand the materials. And build new cities. See how beautiful they look. Imagine driving into this place, which is a dome-shaped Zulu hut in terms of design. And the elements that have been fitted into the house are both ethnic, organic. Is this not the new world they're talking about an organic world, going green?
Eco-friendly.
How can we go green when we are in square houses that are full of paint and etc.? And we are talking about asthma when people are smelling all these chemicals that are on the walls. So maybe I see a new Africa where children will not be vaccinated, where we vaccinate them the natural way. I see a new Africa where women will deliver children naturally.
Yes.
On a birth stool. No more cutting our women's tummies and etc. And women are delivering correctly. I see a new space where men will be sitting around discussing what to do with the wealth that they have in their own spaces, looking after their own estates. I see a new Africa where seasons are changing and drums are playing and kudu horns are sounding on the mountainside and people are chanting together and have weekends out renewing and maybe drive back to their own places of work. I see a symbiosis where a man is driving back from his village and his boot is full of organic foods to come back and live in his own space and grow up his children. I see a new Africa where universities are no longer just teaching us William Shakespeare and teaching us Tudor Bismarck and the wars of the Bolsheviks. I see a new Africa where we sit down and study Penuelism. Let's go to town and study the development of African ideology, comparisons and vigorous mental transformative. I see a new Africa where young men should be able to pursue and build the legacy that his father has given him. And you go to school to study as to how do you transform this to become a better institutions, where one day you'll stand and say, my grandfather used to be this. My grandfather was this. My father was this. I am this. I see a new Africa where legacies and generations will grow from each other. I see a new Africa where we won't need passports to drive and walk around this entire continent. But we can retrace our steps. And it no longer becomes an ideology. But we can have pilgrimages into the Great Sese Islands, into the plains of the Serengeti, into the Victoria Islands, and drink our waters from the Great Nile River, and re-admire the million wild beasts that are walking past into the fertile crescent of Mount Kilimanjaro and etc. Retracing our steps, those that came from the north, those that walked through the center, and those that walked through the south, retracing our steps. What's your name? My name is Ngelengele. Ngelengele kavani kabungana. Upungana kavani upungana kachitikulu mimi hiyo mabele mashe mahle. Babuya pi babase Angola, and I see people beginning to move. And if Ngelengele in South Africa, Bungane, wants to go and live in Angola amongst the fellow Bunganes there, he should be able to do that. In as much as Nkima and Ngube wants to go back and live in Uganda, it must be possible because people are not like goats. Those who love wetlands will go back to wetlands. Those who love mountains will go back to the mountains. Those who love the deserts should go back to the deserts. And I see a new Africa where power will no longer be on the top side, but communities through totems are able to set themselves up into communities. One currency, one army, one passport, one educational system. And here we are in the new Africa where 54 countries have now become one country. If America did it, Europe has done it into the European Union. India and China are enjoying the benefits of numbers. The sheer joining of 54 countries will give Africa 1.8 billion short start of life, a marketplace where we can produce and consume our products and create the economy that we want, not according to the standards of the West, but growing at the pace at which we want. Because creating a concrete jungle is not the Africa that we want. Because if we make Africa another Manhattan, we make Africa another London, we make Africa another Amsterdam or Tokyo, what quality of water are we going to be drinking? What quality of food are we going to be eating? What quality of air are we going to be breathing? So civilization must not run ahead of ecological intelligence, because concrete jungle are a breeding ground of disease and greed. The real Africa we're talking about is a place where humanity is living in harmony with nature. I'll share a paper with you I wrote, The Seventh Industrial Revolution, entitled 7IR. The Bushmen, the Hottentot, and the Aborigines are living in 7IR. No need for a hospital, no need for a school, no need for nothing. Where we build nothing, own nothing, but have everything. I thank you.
Joshua Maponga, thank you so much for visiting us on the Penuel Show. Yep. Mfundisi wa 30 years.
He wanted me to dream, so I started dreaming.
That's why I do
What you can dream on.
Seventh Industrial Revolution. Thank you so much.
Si chahile lende ya makonkri. Si chahile ufaka makonkol na makonkol. Maybe we need to create new villages where literally people can live in their traditional indigenous homes.
That's what I
and
want.
They can
but
enjoy the services.
People think it's inappropriate because I've got a name for it.
It's much healthier.
My human preservation farms, HPFs, where people plug out of capitalism and go and live as naturally as possible without disturbance.
That's important.
Yeah, but people call me names when I suggest
But
it.
this is what I'm going to be doing now, creating this village. It's a space where you can experience it first. Because
We're going to wait for white people to create spaces like that and make them cool, and then everyone's going to want them.
Yeah.